Look, Jack, I know the video will get like 10 views, but I don't care. It's something I know I would want to watch, and I want to make it.
Yeah, like, who cares if it gets 0 views? Just do it because it'll make you happy.
I don't know. I have no words. Are you okay? You must not be doing well to like this shit. But here we are. You told me you wanted more, and more is what you're gonna get. And this time, we actually have usable footage! Woo! Yeah! High five! Now, I mentioned Persona 5 Royal was most likely going to be the next video, and I did record all of the gameplay for that, but then I ran into an issue I really never thought I would. I had nothing to say? Quick, someone call my last 3 exes. Their wishes came true. Joking aside, I really struggled with breaking down how I was going to make that into a video, and it really stumped me for roughly 2 months until I saw an announcement. Dragonage Veilguard, set to release this year, and that really struck a chord with me. I love Dragon Age, and Dragonage Origins is not only in my top 5 favorite games of all time, but is a game that really molded my view on what makes a story captivating as a young teen. So here we are. Nailed it. Right on time. It all seemed to be lining up so well. I actually already own the game on Steam, but in the past it hadn't run well, so I haven't played this game all the way through now in roughly 15 years, until today. A few quick YouTube videos and a file download that I will leave in the description later, and we are back where my love for gaming really blossomed, and I want you to come along in this journey with me. As with the previous video, my goal is to complete a playthrough doing everything I can think of in Dragonage Origins, with a few exceptions we will talk about, on the hardest difficulty, Nightmare. I will break this game up into 6 chapters that I will outline as I reach them, though I'm sure you will recognize where I'm going with this if you have played the game before. With all this in mind, I want to quickly thank my editor Jack, my girlfriend Irene, and my friends Beck and Furley for supporting me through this process, and all of you for being here with me through this journey. If you like the work that I do, please subscribe below, leave a like on the video, and leave a comment telling me what you think of and what I missed, because we all know I will miss something. Now, I want to give a warning as we enter Chapter 1. I will be using the online wiki whenever I'm unsure how to complete a quest. I will not be looking up build guides or lists for what weapons, armor, or skills to use. I just focused on what I remembered and what felt right in the moment, which definitely led to some hilarious failures. Failures you will undoubtedly see here. I am not perfect, and neither is my gameplay, but I think that's what makes going back to older games like this so much fun. And of course, if you want to have a laugh at my expense, do so in the comments so we can laugh together. With all the rambling done, there's nothing left to do but meet our hero today, and I chose to go back to my childhood here and rebuild the same character I made on my first playthrough. Keeping in line with that, we are going to be playing as a mage. Dragon Age has wonderfully rich, plot-driven backstories for each major race and class that makes it really hard to go wrong. Looking at you dual-wielding. But as cool as all the other classes are, it was hard to not want to be a fuck-mothering wizard as a kid. With Wolfmus created, we are ready to get started with Dragonage Origins. In Chapter 1, I intend to complete the following. Become a mage my mother would be proud of. Become a snitch my father would not be proud of. Kick everyone out of my swamp. And become the tower defense game I always knew I was. The game opens with a very interesting cutscene narrated by a character that will certainly live a very long life that tells the story of how mages long ago flew too close to the sun and became the monsters we know now as Darkspawn, and just decimated everything in their path. This would later become known as the First Blight. Really hope that doesn't have long-standing ramifications for mages. This led to our society as we know it coming very close to ruin. It all was saved by a few crazy fuckers who saw Darkspawn blood and decided, yeah, I'm parched. They were most likely from Florida. Darkspawn defeated, heroes now known as Grey Wardens, loved and revered. Everything's great, right? Wrong. That was forever ago, and no one really believes those stories anymore, so the Grey Wardens aren't doing too hot and need more recruits as a new blight is forming. We focus in on our story with our character being called to the top of the Mage Tower, where the heads of the Circle of Magi and the Templars await us. We are told that to complete our training, we must enter the Fade, or Wizard Hell if you will. See, Mages are powerful beings, but they are susceptible to demons of the Fade. So what is the best way to handle mages? Throw them in as the final test and let survival of the fittest take its course. I'm sure this decision, along with treating the mages like mutants who must be caged and monitored for their own good, definitely won't come back to bite us in the ass. Though, it does beg the question of why they let me train for so long prior to doing the harrowing, but this is something we will touch back on later. For now, we enter the Fade with the goal of finding ourselves, but we never do find the two wolves inside us. Instead, we find a rat. No, really. Mouse here, as he prefers to go by, and we don't dead name in this house, damn it, tells us he's been hiding due to the demon that guards this area of the Fade being too strong to beat. He tells us he's really not happy with the way the Templars treat mages, and I agree before letting Mouse come along with me on our magical journey. Play on words intended. We traverse the Fade, killing wraiths, meeting a Templar on our way who seems significantly more reliable than Mouse, and a bear who acts just like I do before my first cup of coffee. He could kill us if he wanted to, I'd like to see him try, but is willing to teach our buddy here a new form if we can solve his riddles 3. Riddles complete, we now have nightmare fuel instead of a mouse for a companion. But maybe a nightmare will be enough to beat this demon. We make our way back to the center of the area where we encounter what is most like just a rage demon that we can encounter tons of later, though at this level he could be a serious threat to us. We also learn at this point that Mouse has been luring in test takers for the rage demon to feed off of in exchange for his safety, and is now only choosing to side with us because we have given him the strength to beat the demon. Which, honestly, fair play. I respect the hustle. We use Mouse as a meat shield on the demon while we deal with the wraiths around, and the fight goes relatively smoothly. After the fight is over, we thank Mouse for his help, but Mouse thinks we really made a great team back there, and maybe we should keep this tandem going, with my body as the vessel. I appropriately reply that I will turn you into a pair of gloves if you touch me, but he appears to have drugged me as I fade to black and wake up back in the real world, though more sore than I felt I should be. After our drug-induced sleepy time, we are summoned by the first enchanter, as if they didn't come check on me themselves, that selfish bastard. We catch up with Irving, who introduces us to never-gonna-die Duncan, commander of the Grey Wardens. Of Ferelden, we'll get there. And he stares a bit more than I'd like after my last experience with a strange man. I agree, begrudgingly, to take Duncan to his room and leave as quickly as possible before he can lock me in. Duncan gone, we are ran upon by Jowan, who tells me he really needs to talk in private. We follow him to a secluded area, aka a wide open room with no closed doors, Jowan you moron, where Lily is waiting for us. Jowan, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. Joking aside, Jowan tells us he has fallen in love with Lily, an act forbidden by the Chantry for Lily, and they intend to flee the tower to be together, an act forbidden by the Circle, the Templars, the Chantry, and really everyone, because mages are evil and hated and vile. Again, hope this never comes back to bite us in the ass. But they need our help. The Circle takes a sample of blood from every mage that enters the tower and keeps the phylacteries they are kept in safely locked away within the depths of the tower. Jowan can't run while that phylactery exists, and they want our help to destroy it. So, to clarify, we just risked our life to join the Circle and complete our training, and Jowan wants us to risk our life again and our connection to said Circle to help a friend. And honestly, a different me would be all for it. But current me has been traumatized by the demon now within me, so I agree to help Jowan and then make the decision to protect my own life first. I head straight to Irving and tell him about Jowan's plans, then agree to continue helping Jowan to catch him in the act. After connecting back with Jowan, we determine the best way to destroy his phylactery will be to use a fire rod, which we can get from a quest involving cleaning up the storage room of the most evil creature the game has to offer, spiders. Foul beasts dead, fire rod retrieved, we head down to the surprisingly unguarded lower chambers, where we find prison cells right next to antique items and a containment room for blood vials. 3 items commonly kept together, of course. Who am I to judge? We reach the phylactery room with little issue, aside from that dumb bitch Lily being wrong about the fire rod, and we destroy Jowan's vial as he hoped. Mission accomplished, The lovebirds fly away free, and I return to my normal life trapped in hell. Everyone wins, right? Wrong. Irving has used our information and is waiting outside of the lower chamber doors for us, and is ready to capture and reprimand Jowen and Lily for their crimes. With all hope lost, Jowen decides he must use his trump card. See, through the opening area, we keep hearing about this rumor being spread that Jowen is a blood mage, but he seems to completely deny it, and you as the audience have no idea why this rumor has been spreading, and should rightfully assume it's false and just being spread to slander Jowen. The rumors are right, and Jowen is in fact a blood mage. We will touch on the importance of this later, but Jowen uses his powers to cause a distraction long enough for him to escape, and with his phylactery destroyed, there's no way we can currently track him down. Irving is dismayed, and Templar Gregor, great name by the way, is not happy with my involvement. This would really start to cause me some issues with the circle if it weren't for the timing of our main man Duncan. The immortal Duncan himself offers, aka demands, that I be allowed to leave the circle and join the Grey Wardens by right of inscription from the treaties the Templars and the Circle of Magi signed centuries ago. With Irving's blessing and Gregor's cursing, we depart from the tower alongside definitely not gonna die Duncan. The name's quite catchy, really. Duncan intends to take us to the Hinterlands, a name no one really ever uses again, and more specifically to Ostagar, the most southern city in the nation where the fighting against the Darkspawn Horde is quickly reaching a crescendo. We really go from rags to riches here as we are introduced upon arriving to the fucking king of Ferelden himself, Kaelin, long may he reign. Kaelin is calm, confident, and charismatic, the 3 C's a king needs to be able to fail, and his optimism should very much worry you as an outsider for how things will go for us. But he does bring up a very important point. Kaelin does not believe the blight is upon us, and with no archdemon in sight, most will and do agree with him, which unfortunately puts the need for Grey Wardens further and further down on people's priority list. Duncan is confident we are not prepared for what is to come, and I am far more inclined to trust a cautious man than a confident one, so Duncan gets another notch next to his name in my book. Duncan asks us to prepare for the ritual that we clearly know so much about, and to connect with Alistair in the time between. Classic RPG gameplay incoming. While making our way through the camp, we stop by a man beside a barricade to find out a Mabari, fantasy dog, has swallowed Darkspawn blood that will poison him if we can't find some medicinal herbs in the wilds in time to save him. Picking up our first quest, we agree and continue on to meet the heroic himbo himself, Alistair. Witty, a smartass, and willing to get the job done even if it's not particularly fun, truly a man of my own heart. Alistair is quick to get the ritual joining started and joins our party so we can go right back to Duncan, truly an RPG staple. With Alistair in tow, we are joined by 2 other recruits, Sir Jory, an honorable Knight of Redcliffe, and Davith, a fellow. With our group formed, we are tasked with collecting 3 vials of Darkspawn blood in the wilds, and collecting a set of ancient scrolls from an abandoned Grey Warden archive that originally worked as an outpost here in the south. These scrolls are treaties that promise support from the different groups in the nation, and Duncan seems to be sure that we will need them in our upcoming efforts. We leave without much delay, not because of the scrolls or the Darkspawn blood, but because we need to save that goddamn Mabari. Entering the Kokori wilds, we are attacked by a pack of wolves, which bring us to the first major problem of nightmare difficulty. We are squishy, and not the good squishy either. As a mage early on, 2 or 3 mobs hitting you at once with your AoEs down will spell death. I will be abusing mid-fight pausing whenever possible to micromanage our team into pushing to try and keep our character free to attack in peace, and we have a pretty good composition to make that work here, with Alistair and Sir Jory in the front, and Davith directly in front of me volleying arrows over their heads. We walk maybe 200 yards away from the outpost, and find a wounded man laying on the ground, and you expect me to believe no one from the post is watching out over the land? He's right here, and y'all were gonna leave him out to die. Wild. We help the man out using some of our precious bandages, and we get a sincere thank you from him. Something this game really hits the nail on. Every quest isn't meaningful because you get something important out of it. They're meaningful because the characters feel real and react how you or I would in this situation, and really keeps me grounded in the story. I love it. Anyway, back to murdering wolves and eventually Darkspawn themselves, we progress through the map, clearing every section of it to ensure we get as much XP as possible while collecting the herbs for the Mabari, the vials of Darkspawn blood before coming across Morgan, who has our scrolls. Morgan is too smart for her own good and has been watching our travels, to which I deeply apologize for all the times I picked my nose. The pollen out here has me all fucked up. She wants to know why we are snooping around the ruins of the Grey Wardens and is willing to listen to reason as long as you offer her the same respect. Something I am happy to give her more than enough of if she keeps calling me a Hampson lad. Morgan lets us know the scrolls are no longer here, but she does know her mother still has them and is willing to take us to her, if not for the fun of it. We arrive at Flemeth's hut and Sir Jory shows us more and more that he isn't cut out for this life. Flemeth appreciates his cowardice more than Dath's stupidity, though I disagree, and after some light banter, she offers us the scrolls without any fight, happy to have protected them with a warning that the blight is far worse than we have realized to this point. We accept her warning and return to the outpost, completing the Mabari quest in the hopes that it will survive before beginning the final steps of the ritual joining. See, Grey Wardens pay a heavy price to join the Order. You must drink a vial of Darkspawn blood, essentially poison to humans, and live to join the Order. A fancy jump into a gang, if you will. For some stupid reason, they let us go one at a time, and we watch as Davis steps up to the plate, downs the chalice in one go, and drops like a sack of Sir Jory's. Potatoes. Sir Jory cracks at this and pulls his blade on Duncan, demanding to be let go. Wrong move, Spud. Sir Jory has consistently proved he was here for all of the glory that came with stopping a blight, not the actual work, and his final words are simple. There is no glory in this, as Duncan impales him with his blade. Pause. 2 down, 1 to go, and watching a suicide murder as opposed to a murder-suicide has really left me parched, so down the hatchet goes, and my lightweight ass drops too, though not dead this time. I have an intense dream of a dragon, something Duncan states is common among the Grey Wardens after I awake, before being congratulated on officially becoming a member. Ooh. Celebration aside, the lively Duncan states we must continue forward, and we will be holding a meeting shortly with the king to prep before the battle. We walk in during a conversation between King Kaelin and Terran Loghain, Kaelin's father-in-law, and a certified legend in Ferelden's recent history. Loghain helped Kaelin's late father drive out the Arlesian Empire, and is not pleased to hear Kaelin wanting to work with the Grey Wardens, whose main base of operations is in Orlais. Loghain believes we can handle this Darkspawn horde here and now, and believes this whole magic hocus-pocus surrounding the Grey Wardens will only lead us down the wrong path, though he does back down at Kaelin's word and agrees to the plan of attack. Kaelin will take the field alongside Duncan and his men, while Alistair and I make our way to a tower towards the rear position of the battle to give the signal for Loghain's men to enter the fray. Why were Loghain's men out of the fray to begin with? I have not the slightest clue. We aren't tricking the horde by showing a smaller army to draw them in. They are coming regardless. There's also a member of the Circle of Magi here who offered to have the mages send the signal instead of us to the tower, but that is quickly shut down. Remember that for later. In the meantime, we have one focus on our mind: killing these goddamn Darkspawn.
Ferelden!
One dope cutscene later, we find ourselves at Helm's Deep. Somebody give me a torch. As we make our way to the tower we probably should have been closer to begin with. We pick up 2 stragglers on the way to replace Davith and Knight Who Shall Not Be Named, and find that the Darkspawn had the same idea we did, invading the tower prior to our arrival. We find that this information was given to the Archdemon through the connection forged between us Grey Wardens and them via the blood running through our veins. The Archdemon may not know why the tower mattered, but it understood it did and tried to stop us from taking it. We kill wave after wave of disposable Darkspawn, leaving each floor completely unscathed like the hero I am, before reaching the top and our first ogre fight, and the introduction of our plan for basically the rest of the series. Let Alistar face tank the Endless Horde, used frost spells to freeze, stonefist to shatter, and chug potions whilst pause spamming the victory. Eat shit ogre, I'm just built different. Tower cleared, we light the beacon to bring in the cavalry and save the day. Bring out the champagne, boys, we did... Wait. Where is he going? Why is Loghain leaving? Why are the Horde winning? Duncan? Duncan, no! I awake to a vision of beauty in my room, with me without any clothes on. I see another successful Thursday has taken place. But more importantly, I learn that the king, Duncan, and the majority of Ferelden's forces fell at the battle. The Horde continues to move north, and Loghain has returned to Denerim to plan his next move. We meet with Flemeth and thank her and her daughter for saving us, and make plans with Alistair to call forth the treaties we signed with the elves, mages, dwarves, and the humans by right of the Grey Wardens to fight this blight. Small problem, Loghain has blamed the defeat and death of the king on the Grey Wardens, and we are now outlaws of the state, fugitives to be captured or executed on sight for our transgressions. And boy, do I have a transgression for him when I get my hands around that slimy little throat of his. Our path? Difficult. Our future? Uncertain. Our hotel? Travago. We intend to take our leave before being offered Morgan by Flemeth. And while I'm not big on slavery, I am big on having another mage in the party, and gladly accept her into our group. We leave Flemeth's hut and Chapter 1 with a plan in place, but whether it will come to fruition is yet to be seen. In Chapter 2, we aim to do the following: fill out the party, clean up Lothering, clean up the Mage's Tower, clean up Soldiers Pass. On our way to the nearest village, we come across the same Mabari we helped cure in the questline before has survived the fight and is ready to join us for more. With Martholomew in tow, we continue on to the next stage in our adventure, Lothering. But before we reach there, we get this wonderful world-building cutscene, with Loghain speaking with nobility of Denerim on Ferelden's next steps to combat the Blight. It does an amazing job of fleshing out the depth of Loghain's and Bon Tegan's characters, the latter we will get more of later. I think one of my favorite quotes of the entirety of this game is here from Loghain. "I haven't shirked my duty to the crown, and neither will you." Man's got that dog in him. Legend. Following the cutscene, we find ourselves outside Lothering, where we are stopped by a band of misfits collecting a toll to enter the town from those who had been affected by the evacuations. We use charming words and good looks to not only avoid the toll, but also collect a nice donation for the Grey Wardens.
They are fools.
And move along on our way. Once in Lothering, we really get a good feel for the pace the game will have us in. We go around interacting with every person, item, chest, and board we can find, picking up random quests as we go. We also take the time to talk down the PTSD'd fighter yelling in front of the chantry before coming upon a man in a cage. Pause. Sten, a Kunari, has been imprisoned and sentenced to death for the crime of murder, a crime he does not dispute and openly welcomes his death. He is blunt, jaded, and he lacks nearly all sense of will to live, so he's basically just a bigger me, and I need him for my team. But before that, we make a quick pit stop into the local pub, where we are attacked by a group of soldiers intent on enacting Loghain's order personally. A sister of the church tries to stop the fight, to little avail, before stepping in and helping us finish the fight with as little loss of life as possible, sending the weaklings off with a message for their would-be lord, the North remembers. Happy with the outcome, the sister, Liliana, agrees to join our group to fight the forces of evil in the name of the Maker, fantasy god if you will. With Liliana in tow, we pick up a quest from the barkeep as well as set up communication with a mercenary group called the Blackstone Irregulars, who will have a series of quests for us in every major region we go to. Liliana ends up being a large factor in setting Sten free, as the revered mother has some not-so-choice words for us. See, she has heard word of Loghain's condemnation of us, but doesn't seem to believe either side and is willing to look the other way as long as we cause no trouble. This does not lend in our favor for freeing Sten, and she is unwilling initially to let him into our care. It is Liliana, a sister of the church, who convinces her that Sten with us will do more good than harm, and she agrees to give us the key. While in the church, we stop by a soldier Alistair recognizes as Sir Donnell, who is here researching information on the Ashes of Andraste, a sacred artifact he hopes to find to heal the now ill Ireneeeeee of Redcliffe. This information shocks Alistair, who informs us we should make our way as quickly as possible to Redcliffe to investigate what has happened. We take this information with a nod and proceed to take all the time in the world doing the side quests here before Lothering gets ran over like the Olympics in Brazil. I mean, seriously, we are doing these little side quests to clear out bandits and spiders and bears, oh my. And in like 3 days, everyone here, literally everyone, will be dead. But this isn't the doing whatever I feel like video. If you disagree, fight me. It's the do everything video, and do everything I must, damn it. We clear all the quests from the locals, invite Sten to our team, kill the dickhead bandits who gave us donations previously, clear the Blackstone board quests and the Chantry board quests before finally saying we are ready to leave this shithole. As we make our way to leave, we come across a traveling merchant and God, I mean his son, who are being attacked by a small band of Darkspawn. We clear them out and receive another heartfelt thank you before they head off on their own adventure. Again, no big rewards for some of these quests, just genuine thank you, and I'm fucking here for it. Lothering complete, we get a good look at the world map, and we can honestly go anywhere at this point. I say as Alistair holds a knife to my back ready to stab me if we don't head for Redcliffe. Joke's on him though, I wish he would give me that sweet release as I click Soldier's Pass. We reach the pass with little issue and find a merchant who tells us about this control rod for a golem he bought that he feels is mostly worthless to him, as the golem is down south in a village overrun with Darkspawn. Challenge accepted, I take the rod off his hands, make for Honleaf, which is absolutely bursting with Darkspawn. I use the classic Final Fantasy XIV tactic of walking forward to pull the attention of a small amount of them, then run away to kill them in safety, then rinse and repeat. The stories they will tell of my courageous battles will be wonderfully embellished, and that just tickles me so. Once the area is clear, we use the magic words the merchant gave to us. Haktua? Spit on that thing? Wonder what odd language that is. And shockingly, the rod does fuck all. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, I murder millions. I make a mental note to stab that shithead merchant next time I see him before making my way inside the cellars located at the heart of Honleaf, hoping for answers. We progress quickly through Wilhelm's cellar as we are leveling pretty well into this area at this point, though my character perishes almost instantly anytime there's more than maybe 5 enemies in a room. Again, I am just bad. And before long, we find ourselves standing in front of a purple barrier, protecting some survivors who apparently don't have a cash reward for me yet. Things are starting to wear thin. One of them, the owner of the estate named Wilhelm, states that his daughter has fled further down into the cellars his father built, and subsequently booby-trapped, and will give us the true control words for the golem out front if we save her. I agree, if only to make my decision to come here actually feel like it was worth it and push deeper within. Pause. Killing off some dust wraiths, which are just the second most terrifying thing in this game. Spiders, you know you're the problem here, shut up. We reach the end of the cellar and find Wilhelm's daughter standing next to the stoat from Inscription. See, Kitty is a desire demon who has been trapped by Wilhelm's father behind a magical lock set, which is absolutely one of the most convoluted magical items in the entirety of Dragon Age. Hell, I'd be pissed too having to look at this stupid fire puzzle for years upon years without being able to interact with it. Finally getting a person to come down so that you can charm them into helping you, only for them to be a little girl who can't figure out the puzzle anyway. I would commit atrocities after I got out personally, but that's just me. Now, the decision process here is important, because we want to keep Amalia alive without letting the demon go free or bringing Wilhelm down, which would allow the Desire Demon to take control of him. So we agree to help and solve the puzzle without any issues at all. Just trust me. Then we tell the demon the deal has changed and murder her while Amalia runs to safety. With the cellar cleared, we make our way back to Wilhelm, who gives us a sincere thank you, the words to awaken Shale, and fucking 50 silver pieces? Is your daughter really only worth 50 silver pieces? Wild. We awaken Shale, who is just as over humanity as I am at this point, and I know we are going to get along just fine. Soldiers pass clear as we get this fucking hilarious cutscene of Shale killing a chicken because they can. Fuck it, I'm in. As we leave, I make a minor mistake. I remember doing the Circle of Magi after Soldiers Pass for my first playthrough, but I really should have gone to Redcliffe first, since I need to go back to the circle after anyways. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but just a good example of how you can really go through the process of gaining allies for the cause in whatever pass you prefer. We reach Lake Calenhad docks, where we can take a boat across to the circle, but before we do, we meet up with the Mages Collective, who intend to give us quests everywhere we go, similar to the Blackstone Irregulars. These quests from the three collectives don't do much in the way of fleshing out the story, but are an easy way to gain additional experience since you'll be going where they are anyways, so I make sure to pick these up whenever I can, and because they are basically everywhere, I will most likely skip over talking about some of them. If one isn't shown here, like this fuck Samael, rest assured in knowing I did in fact murder him, like asked. Murdering aside, I do some quick shopping at the pub before taking the ferry across to where it all started. We find the tower in complete ruin, with dope named Gregor locking the entrance to the lower floors to prevent anyone from going in or out due to an outbreak of demons. See, remember all those things I said we will get to that later on? Oh hey, we're here! The mage that was at the War Council, who offered to have the mages light the beacon, was Uldred, a man working directly for Loghain, and it is implied that they most likely would have come up with a lie that the Blight stopped the magic from working, and still left the Grey Wardens and Kaelin to die. After the battle is lost, Uldred returns to the Circle and attempts to convince higher-ups in the Circle to side with Loghain, who will in turn give them more freedom from the Chantry for their services. This dialogue does not go as planned, and a fight breaks out between Uldred, a group of his Blood Mage underlings, and the higher-ups. In this fight, Uldred attempts to summon a Pride Demon to attack the mages, but fails to gain control and becomes an abomination, a being completely controlled and warped by a demon. This abomination then releases more and more demons from the Fade into the Circle in an attempt to take over as many mages as possible. This is also important because we can infer from this information that it was Uldred who had taught Jowan blood magic originally, and then ousted him to keep any trail from coming back on him if any of his underlings got out of line. So, the tower's haunted, and we're here to cleanse it in fire and ice. We meet up with one of the higher-up mages who was also at Ostagar, Wynn, who had sealed the deeper areas of the tower with a magical barrier to prevent any more spread of the demons. But that won't do with my hero complex. We convince her that a dead demon is much better than a sealed demon, and with logic like that, who can argue? Wynn, welcome to the team, and what an addition she is. Wynn will not leave the group for nearly the rest of the campaign, as having a solid healer is going to be crucial for our success and my idiocy. With a team of Alistair face tanking the world, Liliana peppering people with toothpicks for arrows, and Wynn pouring health potions into my dead carcass, how could we ever lose? We make quick work of the first, second, and third floors, killing any blood mages, charmed Templars, and demons we run into, and saving a few poor souls in the process before reaching the fourth floor, the Templars' quarters. We are one step from the very top, where Uldred will be with Irving undoubtedly, but we are stopped by a few obstacles before then. The first is a relatively straightforward, but still difficult fight with the Desire Demon, and as we reach the staircase up to the fifth, we encounter the real obstacle, a fucking Sloth Demon. See, demons have a hierarchy. Think of it like gradings for sorcerers from the hit show Jujutsu Kaisen. Yes, I'm a young person, I have references. See, the list typically follows weakest to strongest, from rage to sloth to desire to pride. Now, you'd think with this logic that the Desire Demon we just faced would be much more of a pain in the neck than this guy is, and that's where you'd be wrong. As we all go sleepy time, no, not again! We are all plunged into the Fade and must now fight our way through a series of localized areas to free our comrades and break free of the Sloth Demon's control. Much easier said than done. Now, as we learned in the Mage Origin, the demons will use our own memories and information against us to try and pry control from our mind, and the Sloth Demon attempts that with us by showing us a vision of Ostagar where Duncan is still alive. But I'll never let someone disrespect definitely already dead Duncan like that, so we murder the Pretender and progress through the first of several portal areas. Through the portal, we come across Niall, the man who we saw sprawled across the floor behind the Sloth Demon before nappy time. Niall had been a higher-up mage who had stepped up against Uldred and his horde and ultimately failed to stop it, falling under the control of the Sloth Demon and presumably being used to control this area of the Fade as heavily as the Sloth Demon does. Niall wants to help us any way he can, but his power is heavily diminished. He gives us all the information he can and bids us good luck as we proceed through a Fade portal to a mouse being attacked. We save him, and in return, he gives us the power to become a mouse as well, allowing us to travel through small burrows in the ground between areas. And if you're as confused as I am as to how this all works, don't. Just keep drinking the Kool-Aid and all will be well. With mouse form in hand, Niall really believes we can do this and shows us a Fade control podium that allows us to travel between islands in the Fade using mouse form to progress through the rooms and killing anything and everything we can for experience. These fights can get cagey really fast with just myself around, so I do my best to only take the fights I'm confident I can take while still going in every room and grabbing every hidden stat point bonus found here in the Fade. We progress far enough that we start running into rooms that are partially cut off by fire, and as the 3 fucking empty profile photos next to the mouth didn't give away that there were other forms, this probably did. Anyway, we kill our way forward until we find a Templar Dreamer, which is who I can only assume is a man not fully dead yet, similar to us, who has absorbed the powers of the flames, and upon his defeat teaches us the Burning Man form. No, not that Burning Man, this Burning Man. Now that that's covered, we continue through the areas we couldn't progress through before abusing Burning Man's immunity to fire and his quicker running pace. Human Torch here also has some attack spells unlike Mouse, so we will have the option to do so instead of switching back. But for the most part, it is significantly safer to be in human form in these battles, so I'll typically switch whenever a fight starts, if I don't throw a random fireball when possible. PK Fire! We currently have 5 islands available to us, with 4 islands blocked off, meaning we will need to progress through each of the 5 islands and kill off the leader of the island to completely unlock the next area. The 3 outer islands require the 2 inner islands to be completed to be accessed, and the core island in the center is where the Desire Demon Niall warned us about is waiting, and she requires all 5 inner islands to be completed. With 2 forms down, we continue over to a new island in search of our 3rd form. Kill, 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 run, 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 sneak, 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 and we find ourselves helping a timid knight in a 4v1 jumping. Looks like they were a few too short to make it a fair fight, and afterwards the knight gives us the spirit form. Arguably the 2nd strongest form in my opinion. We are able to use this form to touch things crossing between realms, aka the usually translucent glowy ones. This form also moves slow as shit, so we'll only use this inches from where we need to be if possible, before switching back to Burning Man. With Spirit Form in tow, we can return to the first area with Niall and move through the previously blocked door to fight Yavenna, and boy howdy do we fight her a lot. This bitch is a horrible fight for us because my dumbass didn't spec into Mana Clash like I should have. Current me hates past me. I beat my head against this brick wall far longer than I care to admit before finally getting a clean kill on Yavenna using Mana Prison to lock her in place, Cone of Cold to hold off the Wraiths, and Stone Fist to shatter her before killing off the Wraiths easily enough and saving immediately. Yavenna dead, we continue through the remaining islands until we come across a lone mage surrounded by 3 priests and 2 stone golems. I honestly expected this fight to be a lot harder, but Fireball kinda fucked everybody up, me included, and the final form was mine, Golem form. With Golem form, we can finally break down all of the doors that were locked shut, meaning we have all the tools necessary to reach every area on every island. We use this to progress to the final area of this island, where we proceed to get our ship pushed in by 3 stone golems throwing boulders through closed fucking doors. Fuck you, BioWare. We proceed to use our tried and true method of running as fast as we can out of range, then spamming spells at them while they catch up and then going yeah and running away. 60% of the time, it works every time. I legitimately trained these golems around this circle for at least 10 minutes, spamming fireballs whenever is safe, and the golems occasionally just sped up for no good reason, so it was much harder than it sounds. One by one, the golems fall, and my sanity goes with it, but we eventually get the job done and progress killing everything in our way. As long as the group of enemies is smaller than 5 and is less than 3 golems, we are honestly completely safe at this point. And we eventually finish off the bottom 2 inner islands, allowing us to reach the outer island containing Liliana. We find Liliana reciting prayer next to the revered mother from Lothering that we know for sure is dead at this point. It appears that similar to how the Sloth Demon was trying to use our past memories to keep us complacent, they are doing the same to our comrades, and we must talk them out of it. For Liliana, this involves reminding her of why she left the church to join us in the first place, her strong belief that the Maker had plans for her. This works well enough, and Liliana snaps free in time to help us deal with the greater shade that is now beside her. Unfortunately for us, once her will is her own again, she disappears, leaving us alone again. So alone. Anyway, pushing through the 3 remaining inner islands to reach Wynne and Alistair is much the same at this point, and we quickly pull them free as well. Wynne needing to face the reality of the death of the mages that she blames herself for, and Alistair needing to understand that the upbringing he received versus the upbringing his sister Goldana received were not his fault, and it isn't his responsibility to make amends for it. And, of course, it's Alistair, the one tank we had, that isn't able to overcome these thoughts on his own, and we have to fight by ourselves to free him. With everyone freed, we can finally move to the core island, where we are face to face with the Sloth Demon himself. Now, for some reason, this dumb bitch not only thinks he can beat us into submission and return us to sleep, but that he can do so while also allowing our teammates to return to our side and fight beside us. The disrespect will not be forgiven or forgotten. Don't get me wrong, this fight is pretty tough with his different forms, but a few tries later and we have the bitch eating dirt like he deserves. Funny though that none of our comrades bring up the various forms I'm using during the fight. Nothing to see here, folks. With the Sloth Demon killed, we meet back up with Niall, who congratulates us on the kill and asks us to take this book off his decaying body, the Litany of Adralla. which will help protect us from the blood magic Uldred and his people use. Niall states he can't come with us due to how long he's been here, and we thank him for his help and hope he can rest in peace before we are returned to our bodies. As if I didn't need a hero story reason to go kick some ass, we loot Niall's corpse and continue forward without a second thought. Moving quickly, we clear out the remaining rooms before we find a Templar at the bottom of the stairs to the final level, praying with a barrier. Cullen here has protected himself and the bodies of the dead in the hope of holding out for salvation, but the blood mages and demons have been trying to trick him with visions of his past, so he doesn't believe we are real. After a quick back and forth, we convince Cullen enough to talk to us and gather intel, which basically concludes with, "Hey, those stairs next to me, the ones you were already gonna go up? Yeah, those stairs. Great stairs. The best stairs around, really. You'll find them up there. You're welcome. That'll be 12% gratuity, please." He also tries to convince us to murder every fucking mage we find, which is a bold move, Captain, seeing as two of us are mages and Alistair's a Templar. But fair play. Enough fucking around. We push forward to a pretty rough cutscene of Uldred torturing the senior mages in an attempt to convert them into abominations, to some success as well. See, Uldred believes that the Chantry has tried to keep the mages caged away out of fear of their ability to grow into something greater with the help of the spirits of the Fade. Remember that line from the very beginning of the video? Foreshadowing. Uldred believes that by converting these mages, even against their will, is a blessing, not a curse. I should also note that this isn't actually Uldred anymore. This is the Pride Demon Uldred tried to control and failed, and with his spiel finished, he transforms and attacks. This fight comes off as terrifying initially, but the key to beating the Pride Demon here is to focus down the abominations quickly, then micromanage health bars with poultices and mage healing. Once all the abominations are done, the Pride Demon can only attack so quickly, and you can easily out-heal and out-damage him. After a few attacks, they will attempt to turn another of the remaining mages into an abomination, but you can cancel this with the litany of Adralla that Niall pushed us to grab, rest in peace Niall, forcing the Pride Demon to stagger and cancel their channeling. Once you have this rotation down, the fight is honestly rather boring, and is just comprised of you whittling down a big HP bar. Fight complete, I am officially the Demon Slayer, Slayer of all demons. Patent pending. By the way, those mages laying in the garden beside Irving that we saved, they stand up and then drop dead after the fight ends. Motherfuckers! They weren't why we were here anyways, though. Irving here was, and he first and foremost thanks Win? Are you shitting me? Also, hilarious to see her blocked by Alistair's armor in this cutscene. Anyways, Irving states we must hurriedly return downstairs to inform the Templars of our triumph, and we do so post-haste. Gregor is shocked to see Irving at the bottom of the tower, but Cullen here is convinced we are all blood mages or abominations in hiding. Fortunately, before I can slide a dagger between his armor, Gregor sweeps aside his concerns and thanks us for our help. With the tower safe, we receive confirmation of help from the mages and the Templars in our fight against the Blight. A short conversation with Irving later, confirming Wynn will stay in our party, and we are through with Chapter 2. Now, it's at a time like this that you might expect an ad read. Nice long video, catching you in the middle to make sure you're really paying attention. It's really a sound strategy. Maybe a nice raid or a factor 1-minute conversation, eh? Anyway, continuing on to Chapter 3, as if anyone would ever associate with this product. In Chapter 3, we will survive the onslaught, clear the peak, survive the night, clear the castle, slay the demon, another one, survive the forest, clear the ruins, slay the revenants, not another one. After leaving the Circle of Magi for the final time, we definitely won't ever come back here ever again. We stop at the campsite to check in on each of our companions. Now, you'll note that each companion has a loyalty gauge below their character screen. This loyalty gauge is completely pointless because the DLC that you buy the game with now gives you items that nearly max out every character's loyalty gauge, even the most stubborn ones like Sten and Shale, with zero effort or tact. So just know I am the most charismatic person in all of existence, and my team follows me just by my sheer will and aura I exude. Nothing else. That being said, it is still important that we talk to each of our companions after each major checkpoint, as this will push forward their own personal quests, though some do not need this, as well as give you amazing backstories into the depths of their characters' souls that my shitty wit cannot do enough justice for. The conversations we have here delve into Liliana's past as an assassin in Orlais, Morrigan's need for Flemeth's black grimoire that we found in the circle, as well as the tales of Flemeth's past that get spread around, and, the most important of all, Shalebert. We also meet a merchant here by the name of Levy, who tells us he knew definitely dead Duncan, rest in peace, and had made an agreement with him to track down one of the Grey Warden's lost castles, Soldier's Peak, where his ancestor Sophia Dryden lost her life and honor. And my reply to this is simple. Anything that will keep me from going to Redcliffe is worth it in my opinion. Sorry, Alistair. With our companions conversed, we again slap Alistair in the face by ignoring Redcliffe one final time to head towards Soldier's Peak. I originally intended to do all the DLC in this playthrough, but I decided not to do Witch Hunt, Liliana's Song, or the Golems of Amgarak, as I felt all three were not intended to be completed in the core gameplay leading up to the final quest. Now, you could have argued that I could have done them afterwards, and I could have replied, shut up. I also chose not to do the Darkspawn Chronicles for a similar reason, that I just felt it didn't lead to the core ending of the game. If you disagree, tell me in the comments. On our way to Soldier's Peak, we get attacked by a group of assassins who actually aren't here for me for once, a pleasant change indeed, but instead after Liliana's head from her past acquaintances in Orlais. The assassin doesn't know who put out the hit, which makes sense, but does tell us where he'd be getting paid in exchange for his life, which honestly doesn't make sense. This man not only was here to kill us, but is just an assassin in general, with almost zero morals, it sounds like. Put this man out of everyone else's misery, damn it. Liliana determines this must be her previous mentor, Marjolaine, who taught her to be the killer she is, and we make an agreement to confront the employer when we reach Denerim, because I am nothing if not loyal to my comrades' emotional needs. Ain't that right, Alistair? We continue on our path and reach Soldier's Peak with little issue. Upon climbing the steps to the castle grounds, we become entranced in what appears to be a flashback to a time in which the Grey Wardens still inhabited this castle, and are in the midst of a siege from the king's soldiers. What king, you might ask? Which soldiers? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. The area around the castle seems to be affected by the Veil, which I am quickly becoming an expert on as we move forward killing packs of corpses. Or re-killing, I suppose. The corpses that we find here have various titles of Arland, dating the time the siege happened to be under King Arland, who had more personal motives for dealing with the wardens. See, as we make our way through the first and second floors of the tower, we find lore excerpts that tell the tale of a family torn asunder by power, and a man wearing the crown who drank from its strength like poison. Arland did not come to power easily, as there was another with a powerful claim to the throne, his cousin, Sophia Dryden, the very same one Levi was looking for. Shocker. After being placed on the throne because he was deemed easier to manipulate, Arland held a bit of a grudge against his cousin, who he had forced to join the Wardens to keep her away. But that wasn't good enough for old Henri Arland. No, he needed her gone for good. So when she started helping his people from his own tyranny, he used it as an opportunity to deem the Wardens outlaws, and sent his armies to Soldier's Peak to deal with them once and for all. And deal with them they did. Or should I say mostly did. As the fight for Soldier's Peak neared an end, and the Wardens were backed into a quarter, Sophia ordered Avernus, her supporter and senior mage, to summon demons to the field to fight for them in a latch-ditch effort. This worked about as well as it works for every mage that summons a demon, it would seem, as they immediately stopped listening to Avernus and started killing Wardens and Ferelden soldiers alike. Hooray! With no one living to tell the tale, King Arlen used this fight as proof of the Warden's evil ways and officially exiling them from Ferelden altogether. It is only thanks to Merrick, Kaelin's dad, that we never meet, who permitted the Wardens to return to Ferelden a few years ago, that we are even here in the first place. And this is also why it's so important we show the treaties to each of the core groups, as none of them will actually want to help us otherwise. See, this lore drug they've been giving me is good shit, and I love getting it as early as possible to give good credence to why we are having to work so fucking hard. You see that, Alistair? There was always a reason, dick. Now put the fucking knife away. Now that all that talking is done, we have to deal with the veil elephant in the room. Avernus' act of summoning the demons ripped a hole in the veil itself, and we stumble across the possessed body of Sophia Dryden herself, who wishes to be set free. She can't leave, however, while the old mage at the top of the tower still lives, and requests our help killing the mage. In return, they will close the veil, eliminating the demon prominent, and leave the tower for us to reclaim, so that they might go about exploring the rest of the world. This is, obviously, a terrible idea, but I, for one, am all for a little chaos, and agree to go check things out at the tippy top. On our way to the top, we have to cross a narrow bridge filled with traps, and for some reason, the game bugged out in just the perfect way to avoid them by letting my character phase through the fucking floor. God, I love Dragon Age. Anyway, we make it to the top where we meet Avernus of all people, the very same Avernus who set the demons upon this tower so many years ago, having his life extended through the use of blood magic. Now, a smart person would hear this man out, listen to a compelling argument, then decide carefully who to trust. Maybe backstab the both of them, and make out like a bandit in the night. Who knows when it comes to a genius, right? Anyway, so then I started blasting. Yeah, no fucking way, Avernus. I have been fucked with by demons too much and am over all of this mage demon bullshit. Let them all burn. Apparently, my game didn't like the burn it all down approach, as this completely bugged out and Sophia agrees to help us, tells us to get ready, then just stands there through multiple loads. God damn it. I take back my I love Dragon Age comment. A few quick Google searches later, and I learned this issue is pretty common, and you can bypass it by quick saving, quick loading a bunch right at the door to the cutscene. Now we are back on our stride, and honestly, this fight goes pretty smoothly. Our characters are all right around level 9 right now, and I have a pretty consistent game plan here of Liliana doing complete fuck all with dual wield daggers. I really need to move her to a bow again, and I just don't for far too long. But I need to keep her in the party for opening chest. Alistair is face tanking every enemy I throw at him, and my own goddamn spells. Wynn is healing everything like the mother of the party she is, and me throwing AoE spells and putting force field on whoever has the most aggro at the time so that they can be safe while I throw flames over their heads. We deal with the waves of demons and the final boss, Desire Demon, relatively easily, and we kill Sophia for her troubles to ensure no demons remain on my watch, and with all of that, you'd say, job complete. The Soldier's Peak is done, right? Wrong. I fucked up. See, up until this point, more experienced Dragon Age players might have noticed that I haven't been using the highlight all interactable objects key binding, which will tell you what bodies are looted, what bodies aren't looted, what items you can't touch, and what items you can. It makes life so much easier, especially when certain quests require you to hit certain lore-only items that sometimes sparkle or glow, and sometimes fucking don't. Fuck you, Soldier's Peak. I completed your goddamn quest, but because I missed one of the 3 collectibles, it will now never say completed on my quest tab. And if you think that doesn't count, you can fight me in the comments. With Soldier's Peak finished, we make our way back to camp and progress everyone's stories, starting with Morrigan's research into Flemeth's grimoire. Morgan believes Flemeth used the lives of her daughters to extend her own life, and is several hundreds of years old. Morgan tasks us with killing Flemeth and stealing her much more detailed grimoire without Morgan being there to ensure Flemeth cannot take over her body, which is just asking so much of me without offering me anything in return, though I do remember her calling us a handsome lad. Fuck it, I'm in. We also check in with Alistair, who only seems slightly annoyed with my questions. Probably has to do with the whole Redcliffe thing, really. Fair play. We also check in with Wynne, who has some interesting thoughts on whether abominations can be turned back or not, especially given how many we already murdered, but I'll leave her to her own thoughts on that. Alright, we can finally head for Redcliffe. But wait! First, we gotta get attacked by a different group of assassins with an extremely handsome leader. This fight honestly was harder than most around this point in the game, just because of how spread out they kept their archers, and honestly because of how poorly I spec'd my mage. But we get the job done, and speak with the leader who just attempted to kill us. A bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. Zevran here has a smart-ass tone to him, much similar to Alistair and Morgan, but he adds a fun twist to it that isn't just his accent, and I like that. As a member of the Antivan Crows, Zevran really doesn't give a shit who he works for, as long as the pay is good and he is alive. That really leads to the issue he's having. He can't return to the Crows without having killed us, or he will be killed for his failure. With that in mind, he states he can be a good asset to us, and I am happy to agree if it means I get to listen to him more. Welcome to the team, partner. With that out of the way, we finally arrive at Redcliffe, where Alistair drops a bombshell. Alistair, while having grown up here, is actually the bastard son of the late King Merrick, and half-brother to the also late King Kaelin. God, you have a lot of death around you, dog. You need to start cleansing this whole area before I end up dead too. This also brings up the implication that Ireneeeeee knew who Alistair was and kept it hidden from the world, allowing Alistair to join the Wardens as a way to keep him safe from any political adversaries who might try to use him to usurp Kaelin's throne. This is actually fantastic news for us, because guess which throne is now ours, comrade? I also love the notion that the nearly lived Duncan kept Alistair on the back lines in the hopes that if things went to shit, he could also throw Alistair onto the throne as a power play to keep the Grey Wardens in a position to do what needed to be done. So much respect for that man, and fuck Loghain for helping him die. Alistair personally hates the idea of being king, dumb, and wants us to help Eamon to see if he can take the throne instead, and urges us to continue forward quickly. We make our way to the chantry located outside the castle grounds and find Bon Tegan, brother to Ireneeeee, preparing the village for the apparent attacks that happen each night while the castle continues to be haunted by evil forces. Fortunately, Tegan is the very same fellow from the Loghain cutscene that challenged the notion of the Wardens being traitors and is on our side. A rare sight indeed, but needs our help. Tegan asks us to help gather the forces, and we set about the various mini-quests we have here to prepare for the night raid. We first stop by Jeddah and let her know her husband and son are dead. Sorry, not my problem. Then Caitlin, whose brother ran off to hide, don't blame him. Then Murdoch, who asks to get the drunk blacksmith off his ass so he can get some weapons and armor going before tonight. This is surprisingly easy, as just 3 dialogue options later, we are in his house convincing him to work for the mayor as long as we guarantee to free his daughter from the castle. As if I wasn't already going to do that, sucker. We let Murdoch know the blacksmith, Owen, is back up and running, and he tells us we can basically say, fuck it, let's head to the night now, which is absolutely moronic, as there are still more people that can help us. We continue on our way, stopping by Caitlin's house to scare off Bevrin, her brother, who was hiding in the closet, to which I say, be yourself, little bro. Love you, and the world will love you as well. Yeah. Now that that's out of the way, we move down to the docks, where we stumble into a house containing 3 obvious warriors not warrioring, led by Dwin. Dwin here has no intentions of helping the village and is going to hold up in here as long as they can, to which I say, over my dead body, and kill the 3. Not my best idea, seeing as we wanted their bodies for help, not for fertilizer. I will come back later and fix this, but for now I persevered on, thinking I still had this even without them. I moved back up the mountainside to the bar, where a creep is sitting by himself by the name of Berwick. The bartender has a feeling that he's a bit of a creep, and I decide to check that out for myself. Yep, she's definitely right, as he immediately flubs his lie about being here for his brother. This guy is by far and away the worst spy I've ever seen, and I force him to work with us at night to help fight off the evil forces to make up for his incompetence. The one useful bit of info he does give us is that he is working for a man working for Rendon Howe, and that will be important to hold on to. Now, I want you to believe me when I tell you I am really dumb. I tried the night fight roughly 5 or 6 different times and failed each one. I tried different team setups, I tried different tactics, and just nothing worked. But when editing the clips down, I didn't clip the failures, and for that, I'm sorry. Instead, what you will see here is me with a different team setup sprinting through a reverted save as I do everything else the same, except for getting Dwin to side with us for some gold, getting the militia boys at the bar some booze to settle their nerves, and getting the barkeep to join in the fighting, because if I must suffer, so must he. With these changes, I really hope we can finally hold out through the night. The fight itself is very much a sustained DPS check. How quickly can you drop trash mobs and ready yourself for the next wave? And I am just not spec'd properly. The world is relying on quite possibly the worst mage in Ferelden right now, because my character can barely deal with a handful of corpses with my freeze and shatter technique. I utilize Shale and Alistair to frontline as much as possible, while I focus on the corpses that attack our NPCs to keep them as alive as long as we can. Gwyn stays in the back healing and throwing additional shatters out, helping us clear the first few waves. I also will utilize Force Field onto key NPCs to give me time to kill the mobs, while using Gwyn to regain any health on them, and the first hill actually goes pretty well. Once the waves die down, we get told of mobs coming from the lake and quickly move down the hill to protect the chantry, and this is where things consistently go south. We lose those stronger NPCs we had and instead get the fucking barkeep, which I do everything within my power to keep alive. We are doing our best to keep the mobs thin, but the waves already being here when we arrive definitely has us on our back feet, and things start to go downhill. As our infantry dwindles, Shale and the barkeep are the first to fall, overwhelmed by trash mobs as I try desperately to keep Alistair and Wolfmus alive, to little avail. With just Wynn left and the last of our soldiers falling, all hope seems lost. I make a desperation play, one that has never failed me before in all my years of COD zombies. I start the train, moving my way up the hill as smoothly as I can, where the actually gifted soldiers are sitting on their fucking asses. What the hell, guys? You know, this isn't the time to complain. I utilize them as best as I can to clear any corpses that follow me up before going back to aggro 1 or 2 and repeat the process. This took me around 10 minutes, but through hell or high water, we made it work, goddammit. Dawn arises and we have survived the night. Barely, and Tegan hails us as survivors. The poor fools. With the hellscape finally cleared, I scoop the dead bodies of our fallen allies off the floor, collect all the quests from the Chanter's board, and drag everyone up to the windmill at the entrance of the village, which apparently has a trap door that leads to the castle. Great infrastructure, everyone. Bon Tegan wonders if he should have used this earlier, to which I replied, "Ya think?" And Lady Isolde arrives from the castle with word that Tegan must return with her alone or face the consequences. Through some prying, we find out someone under the employ of Loghain's men has snuck into the castle and poisoned the Arl, while also unleashing some kind of evil that keeps Eamon, his son Connor, and his wife Isolde safe, while killing and corrupting everyone else. If the consequences are any similar to that night, I seriously want to avoid it, so we make an agreement to use the trap door and find an answer to these monstrosities while Tegan does his best to keep things at bay. With a heavy weight on Tegan's shoulders, we watch as he makes his way back with Lady Isolde. God, what a badass. We keep our word and make our way into the windmill and straight down the trapdoor. Directly down, not stopping for anything. Anything at all. Anyways, we traverse the passageway from the trapdoor to the basement of the castle, where we come across holding cells and a very familiar face. Jowen, my boy, how's your mother? Jowen here went from one bad to another, as he was sent here by Loghain under the guise of being a mage to tutor Connor in secret after Isolde discovered his aptitude for the arts. Jowen swears up and down that his only job was to poison Eamon, and that he had nothing to do with the evil residing in the tower, even after Isolde had apparently tortured him for the truth. And while Jowen may have been stupid enough to go forward with this plan, I don't think he would willingly do something this monstrous. The knowledge of Connor being a mage also brings up the possibility of him being the cause for these issues, as he could have affected the veil, leading to demons coming out, so there is more to the situation than initially meets the eye. I feel more inclined to believe Jowen at this point, and I'm really interested in finding out more of what Isolde hasn't told me. So we take Jowen's information and tell him we will be back for more after we clear out the castle. We make our way up through the main floor of the castle, where the narrow hallways are definitely our friend, allowing us to herd the mobs into small passageways where my AoE spells can go to work, whereas the open rooms are a hunting ground for these Mabari to run us down. After several headache-inducing deaths, we reach a storage closet with an annoying screaming girl inside, begging for her freedom nearly as loud as I am begging for her to fucking leave. With apparently the blacksmith's daughter now free, we can backtrack to the village to free some inventory space, complete the blacksmith's quest, and pick up the Blackstone Irregulars quest, then return to the castle. With the main floor clear, we make our way into the courtyard, which I oddly remember from my childhood as being a bitch to deal with. See, this is the first Revenant, and these bastards have really strong melee and an AoE pull spell that can really mess up backline threats, so we need to approach this fight delicately. I attempt to pull the aggro of the skeletons without aggroing the Revenant, and it works like a charm, allowing us to cut down half of the enemies before the fight has even begun. We do this again to pull away some of his corpses before starting the real fight with just the Revenant alone. Now, you may notice during this fight a fuck ton of immunes coming out of any ice and poison attacks, which is much more than my dumbass noted, which led to these Revenant fights in the future being a real bitch to do. Regardless, we cut the Revenant down and continue on into the Grand Hall, where we find the heroic Tegan fucking dancing like a jester in front of a child who we can only presume is Connor, who has clearly entered his My Chemical Romance stage, rock on kid, and a mother who clearly regrets her life choices. This little shit starts talking to his mother, calling me an it like some kind of freak, which to be fair, I am, but that's besides the point! Isolde refuses to see reason and blames Jowen instead of the demon-possessed offspring beside her, but I'm not fully convinced I could talk my way out of child murder while already being a wanted man. So I decide to try and help her. We find out that Connor here, hurt by the events of his father's poisoning, allowed himself to be corrupted by a demon in return for keeping his father alive, and now the demon wants Connor to rule over the land. We convince Demon Connor, Donner if you will, that we are here to check on the Arl, who responds to this by being upset with his stupid mother, warranted, and me, unwarranted, so we must fight off his guards. Somehow we kill everyone here but Bon Tegan, and Isolde has the gall to tell us again that Connor is not the problem here. Bitch, you're the problem here! Hell, even Tegan is over her shit at this point, but is still against killing Connor, so we come to the agreement that we might get some more information out of Jowen given his background as a blood mage. Jowen believes the demon is not fully in control of the boy and can still be killed in the Fade, severing the ties and leaving the boy alive. Jowen warns that there's only two ways to make this happen: a shit ton of lyrium or life force of a living person. And Lady Isolde immediately offers her life up in exchange for the boys. Now, we could gut the woman here, and now I'd argue we'd be better off for it, but there's really no point, seeing as we happen to know a certain tower full of lyrium that just so happens to owe us a favor. We quickly travel back to the Circle of Magi, but are ambushed along the way by more Darkspawn. The fight itself is relatively trivial, though as we are leaving, we get a cutscene of Wynne collapsing to the ground and talking about nearly dying out of nowhere. We agree to speak more when we break for camp next and continue back to the circle. At the tower, we relay the situation to Irving, who is willing to help and sets about gathering mages to meet us back at Redcliffe. Classic RPG move. We go somewhere to talk to a guy to go back to where we started. Nice. We also grab some supplies from the Magi merchant, then return to camp to get the exposition dump from Wynne. See, before we came upon Wynne, in the circle protecting the barrier, she had fended off a demon attempting to kill her apprentice, but had fallen in the process, and as she felt the last of her life force leave her, she felt something else enter her. Again. In that moment, a spirit, a being from the Fade similar to a demon, brought her back to life while still allowing her to be fully in control of her body. Wynne doesn't know how long this arrangement is meant to continue, but wants to use all of her remaining time for good, and I am 100% here for it. Exposition done, we leave camp and get pulled into a cutscene fight that finds us all on the verge of defeat before Wynne pulls out a new ability, Vessel of the Spirit. A solid AoE spell that will definitely come in handy when I remember to use it. We make it back to the castle and find that we can definitely send someone into the Fade, but only one. And only me. Fuck. All things considered, these series of Fade fights are much tamer than previous ones, and we make pretty quick work of the Desire Demon. Now, is it weird that this Desire Demon chose an underage child? I don't know. Moving on. Donner is no more, Connor has no memories of the Dr. Desire Demon, and Lady Isolde is alive. All wins, but Eamon is still out cold. Not a win. Lady Isolde states we should seek out Brother Genitivi in Denerim, who has been researching the whereabouts of the sacred urn of Andraste's ashes, which could cure Eamon. We agree to make haste and immediately go about side questing the various markers on the map between Redcliffe and Denerim, and Alistair's knife raises yet again. On the way, we get a nice cutscene of Loghain, Tim Curry, and Queen Honora discussing how they should best move forward. And again, I am amazed by the depth they give Loghain. If we follow Loghain's logic that Caelan was a fool who sought glory above all else, then he is doing exactly what is best. He is attempting to bring the Lords of Ferelden back under control to then raise a single army and beat the Darkspawn forces off, once and for all. He also refuses to allow the Arlesian Grey Wardens to enter the country because of his history with Orlais. Everything is there, and it's such a well-written story. God damn it. We cut back to our characters finishing some board quests, which are minor, on the way to the Brazilian forest, not Denerim. Fuck you, Alistair. We take a break at a camp, where the man himself thanks us for going out of our way to save the Arl's family. Joke's on him, but my god does Allie, I'm gonna call him Allie now, look so good in that armor. We also check in on Morgan, who tells us about how cold she is, and listen, right? Much like Denji from the hit show Chainsaw Man, I am but a simple man, born in rags and squalor, having known but only the simplest of pleasures before this journey. I desire one thing in life. To touch some goddamn titties. Morgan, my love, my queen, I will burn down countries in your name. I will throw aside the sun itself, for you are the only light I need. Thank you. As we return back to the rest of the group, several eyes are on the maid outfit that is now hung up above my resting space. With fun time over, we continue our camp visits, checking in on Sten, who tells us about he and the Borisod entering Ferelden and losing his sword somewhere near Lake Calenhad. We also talk with Zevran, which is very important for a point later down the line. Zevran wants to know what the future holds for him if we do succeed in our plan, and to be honest, I intend to keep him as close as possible, if only because I'd rather have his blade at my side than at my back. Plus he's hot. Sue me. Zevran also takes time to tell us about Antiva City, and it really helps us flesh out the depth of these areas. We keep hearing about Antivan wines and brandies, but Zevran misses the leather smell most. They took such great care to make these characters feel real, and I absolutely can't get enough. After finishing up with Zevran, Ali tells us about the sister we saw in his Sloth Fade Island, and that she lives in Denerim, adding her to the list. But that list will have to wait, as our first target is the Brazilian Forest, and the elves that camp outside it. We are met at the entrance to the camp with slight resistance, bordering on hostility, but we are allowed entrance to speak with the keeper, Zathrian. Zathrian seems to be very short on available time, but is willing to speak to us with poise and respect, and does hear out our reason to visit. Zathrian tells us that the elves are currently in no position to honor the treaties their people signed due to a series of werewolf attacks from within the village that has led to an infection within all who were wounded. We offer assistance in any way we can, and Zathrian explains that the illness itself is caused by a curse on the werewolves, and the source of the curse lies within a great wolf within the center of the forest. We agree to go in and see if we can retrieve the heart of the wolf in an attempt to cure the afflicted elves. But everything any game ever has taught me that this asshole is not telling us everything he should be. For now, I push those thoughts aside and go about the usual RPG standard gameplay. Talk to every person, touch every item, learn every lore. It's good shit. Nice little key bump in the mid-game to keep me going. We also pick up a few quests involving finding out if a loved one is still alive, playing Elven Matchmaker, being asked to find that good old hardwood, Stardew Valley style, and of course communing with nature. That last one is really going to be a big headache for us, as we again did not think out our choice of skills and have no one with improved survival, which is required for this quest. I'll have to come back when I am able to, unfortunately. For now, we head into the forest itself and go about the tedious process of exterminating every living being we come across, be it wolf, werewolf, bear, or tree. Aren't you glad you asked for my help, elves? Without having to worry about lockpicking anything for right now, we are able to bring Shale instead of Liana, which makes us far more tanky than before. So these fights honestly are a cakewalk. The forest is split in two, a west and east side, and we spawn in the west, slowly working our way east. But not far in, we are approached by 3 werewolves, and one of them actually talks? God, they're going to be voting next, watch. The werewolf names himself Swift Runner and warns us return to the elves and accept defeat, as the werewolves will not stop until the elves are dead. Honestly, if he was half as strong as his bite, this might have been a legitimate threat, but 2 seconds into our fight, he is already fleeing like the little pup he is. It is definitely interesting that Swift Runner has sentient thought, so we will definitely be seeing more of him as I eradicate his friends. While clearing the forest, we find Dagon wounded right before he collapses, and before we put him out of our misery, Wynn convinces us to take him back to the elves. Bless her heart. Afterwards, we come across some Darkspawn and an ogre who gives us the first challenging fight we've had in a good while. Hope that doesn't change soon. Nearing the end of the western part of the forest, we start to fight treemen, more commonly known as Sylvans.
Okay, wait, stop, pause. Hi, it's the editor of this video. Hopefully you're enjoying. I would just like to apologize for Justin's use of the word treeman here. I know that's very offensive. I know the game calls them Sylvans, but the correct term is ent. Thank you.
Who seem to be all defending the center of the forest where one Sylvan waits. And this one also talks. Jesus Christ, property values are going to start going down if we're not careful. The elder tree here rhymes when he speaks, so he clearly can't be bad, and calls himself the Grand Oak. New hit album coming soon. OG Tree here needs us to find his seed, pause, and we agree if only to hear him rhyme. Before leaving the Western Forest, we double back to the upper corner of the map, where an auspicious campfire can be found. We quickly take note that no one would really be camping out here, and seem to get oddly tired the more we look around. Oh, fuck, for fuck's sake, again? I can't even wake up on my own this time, and have to use wind to deal with the fucking greater shade. I swear to God, the fact that Logain isn't able to kill me while I am the equivalent of a child jumping into a windowless van is a sign of his ineptitude. I do feel a bit better seeing all the bodies strewn about after the shade is dead, though, and I toss the free candy sign into the river, never to be seen again. With Western Forest nearly cleared, we'll get there later, we move on to the Eastern Forest, where there's significantly less action, but it's much more condensed. We follow the path to a four-way cross. To our right is a fog wall that doesn't let us progress, and our left and straight ahead meet at a point, so I decide to go straight forward. Ahead, we find an interesting campsite beside a weird-looking tree, and as we approach, Jesus merciful Buddha! After I clean off the back of my robes, I speak with the man who speaks to himself more than he speaks to me. We ask him if he stole OG's nut, pause, and he tells us he might have if we answer some questions for him. He asks questions about ourselves, then calls us a Fed, and I honestly feel like he might be the smartest person I've met on my journey. In return, he lets us trade the items we've received for completing Elven quests for the Acorn and the choice of a really good helmet or a lore book, and my dumbass took the book. I accept my stupidity for what it is, as I pissed off the hermit and must move forward to the 2-ogre fight without the helmet. A nice progression point without adding new character types, which I can appreciate at this current level. Once through the ogres, we reach what will be the bane of my existence for the next several hours of gameplay. The fucking Revenants. See, there are 3 tombstones located in each of the core parts of the forest that, when disturbed, release a Revenant boss and several corpses. The first one here is found in a nice, wide open area where we can easily corral the corpses to maximize our AoE, then deal with the Revenant by the tried and true method of forcing aggro onto Alistair, then spamming potions and force field until the Revenant is dead. Takes about 3 tries, not too bad, and we move on. We make our way back towards the Western Forest, killing some bears using Kaioken along the way for some reason, and run into a werewolf T-bowing with a quest objective over their head, and decide not to choose violence for once. Maybe I'm turning over a new leaf. The werewolf is actually Danila, the same one elf number 3 asked me to go find. What? I don't remember his name, and I refuse to accept that you cared either. Here, take some Subway Surfer to distract you while I give her the sweet release she needs. Pause. With Danila dead, we hit up OG and get a beating stick to progress through the fog. Then, return to the elven camp to check in on Dagon, who is recovered. Atheris, that was his fucking name. Yeah, she's dead, bro. Just didn't make it in time. Sorry. I also check in with the merchant about the ironwood I ended up finding randomly. Wasn't even worth talking about, honestly. I also connect with Zathrian about this talking werewolf situation, and he does about as good a job of lying to me as I do avoiding free candy signs. This asshole is definitely up to something, and I will be prepared for him when it arrives. Back into the forest we go. We head back to the Eastern Forest and beat the fog away with the beating stick, oddly efficient, only to have Swiftrunner confront and then lose to us. But before we can strike him down, we are stopped by a really good boy. I'll forgive the barking, come here, and get some tickles behind the ear. Of course, the dog can clearly sense the demon inside me from the origin story and runs away with Swiftrunner, but I will catch up to them soon enough. We make our way into the Brazilian ruins, where we mow through small groups of skeletons, werewolves, and spiders, oh my. Along the way, we hear a terrifying and oddly arousing growl emanate from deeper within the ruins, and we quickly run into the source of said growl, a dragon. Finally, a fucking dragon, and you know what? This fight fucking sucked. The dragon itself does a good amount of damage, and it's a pretty solid threat here, but he's beatable. He isn't the problem. It's the stupid booby traps all around the room, and I swear I reloaded this fight 4 times just to not die to traps outright. Fuck this fight, I will not say anything further. Moving on, we slog through the lower ruins, clearing wave after wave of skeletons, and this fighting is becoming very monotonous. I really hope we don't see more of this style map layout moving forward. Along the way, we get some interesting story points, including a mysterious ghost boy and a pedestal that I seemingly can't use right now. Definitely not because of my own stupidity. Remember that. Nearing the end of the lower ruins, we find a mini-boss, Arcane Horror, which really does a great job of telling a story via the setting and not with words. The room is laid out like that of a mage/scholar, delving deep into research he most likely shouldn't be, which undoubtedly led to him becoming the monster he is today. This is pretty annoying due to his AoE spells hitting us really hard while we are distracted by skeletons, so I revert the save and decide to go forward with the tried and true method of only hitting him from really far away with spells while Alistair and Shale jerk each other off. Get shit on, Horror. Afterwards, we stumble upon this really interesting water puzzle involving a small puddle of water, an earthen jug, and an altar. We immediately fuck up the puzzle and kill the wraith it spawns before googling the answer. The intended way to complete this. The puzzle opens up to what can only be described as a crypt with a female ghost residing inside. We immediately piss off the ghost, which ends up being a shade in disguise because I'm just clearly not smart enough to talk my way out of these engagements lately. Need to read a book, honestly. We deal with the two greater shades the female shade spawns before taking her down, though she doesn't make it easy on us with that fucking blizzard spell. Looking inside the tomb she stood before gets us a piece of armor that goes with the set we started with the revenant kill from outside. After clearing the lower ruins, I can't find the exit to the next part of the map, but I see it on my minimap as in this small room that I spent much more time than I should have looking in before realizing the exit is the puddle of water on the ground. Entering the lair of the werewolves, we are aptly bombarded by waves of werewolves here in tight corridors. Please see my previous comment of why tight corridors are our friends, you fools. Continuing forward to the heart of the lair, we run into a different talking werewolf who begs to parley in the hopes that we won't eradicate their species. Not realizing that I was working for peace anyway because I'm running out of inventory space from looting all these dead bodies. Shale doesn't approve. The werewolf leads us to the good boy from before, who he calls the Lady of the Forest, to which I ask you, can the lady still be a good boy? Let me know in the comments. The lady herself is much more reasonable than the werewolves, or the elves for that matter, so I'm happy to show her her due respect while we discuss the matters at hand. See, Zathrian here has hid shit from us, no shit, and is really to blame for the curse being put on the werewolves. The werewolves were once humans who lived close to the forest and were, like most humans, ignorant, hostile little shits. They captured, tortured, and murdered Zathrian's son and raped his daughter, who killed herself later on after discovering she was pregnant. Lost in his anger, Zathrian called upon a demonic spirit and tied it to a great wolf to hunt down all of the humans who had caused his pain. Witherfang killed as many humans as he could, and those who survived became cursed alongside the wolf, becoming werewolves. The humans eventually fled the area, leaving the werewolves to hunt the forest in a blind rage. This led to centuries of werewolves being born anew. The werewolves we see here are not the same ones that hurt Zathrian and deserve a chance at having a normal life. But Zathrian will not see past his rage and refuses to lift the curse. This has led to the werewolves attacking the elves, spreading the curse among them in the hopes that the elves will become werewolves as well if Zathrian doesn't lift the curse. The Lady of the Forest asks us to bring Zathrian here or she will never be seen again, and the elves will fall to the curse he started. Now, I for one am all for murder and vengeance, but Zathrian, you broke a cardinal rule by hiding things from me, and you will pay for that. We head outside and find Zathrian already here. How the fuck did you get past the fog? Regardless, we relay the situation, and Zathrian sees it as an opportunity to get close to the Lady of the Forest and end her once and for all, completely missing how on her side we are, and agrees to go on down with us. Once below, the lady and Zathrian discuss how they both feel like a great couples therapy session, and we get a confession bombshell. See, we've been hearing from the elves that Zathrian has rediscovered the gift of immortality the elves of old held. but no one knew how. Turns out, he didn't, but his life is being extended due to his connection with the original demonic spirit he released into the Great Wolf, meaning that if the curse dies, Zathrian dies too. Zathrian is so smug throughout this conversation, and I just don't see why. This man has the hubris of age, and it's time we cut him down a peg. But we can't just kill him here. Zathrian must release the curse willingly, or it will continue after his death. With all this in mind, we side with the werewolves and decide to fight Zathrian. Zathrian summons 2 shades and 3 sylvans, but we get the werewolves and the Lady of the Forest, so the fight here is pretty even, but we get whooped first round through. Reloading the fight, I decided to try and focus my fight on Zathrian, while Shale and Ali run prevent defense on everything behind me and Wind to keep us alive. Once Ali has a group of them on his ass, I'll throw a force field over and continue my onslaught on Zathrian's ass. Pause. With Win and I peppering him down, the fight goes relatively smoothly, spam pausing my way to victory, which leads to something that has just made me chuckle every time it happens. The fight ends and we get an instant cutscene of Zathrian begging for life, but it is superseded by the voice that happens every time I switch to my character, and that just tickles me. Zathrian begs for mercy, and the Lady of the Forest offers it in return. Zathrian is a broken man, having never healed from the pain of his loss. Zathrian fears death, but it is the lady who convinces him that it is time to move on, and Zathrian dies as the curse is finally lifted, and the werewolves are returned to normal humans. Downgrade if you ask me, but I'm happy we could save them, right before they are overrun by Darkspawn. Great job, guys! Yeah! Returning to the Elven camp, we finish the main questline, confirming the elves will fight alongside us when the time is right. With that complete, we stop by the merchant and buy a very expensive Tome of Skills to get us the improved animal handling we needed to complete the deer quest. Thank God. Once we are finally ready to leave, we are confronted by a group of the Elven warriors to tell us to inform them where the humans ran off to so they can hunt them down. I bring up my previous comment of the Darkspawn killing the humans, but that apparently isn't good enough, so we murder them, because apparently that is. With the camp clear, I decide we really should finish off the remaining 2 revenants before leaving, and God do I regret that decision. Revenant number 2 is the one closest to the ruins, and again, nice open-spaced area makes it easy to deal with the skeletons, then focus down the revenant. Easy, right? The 3rd and final revenant isn't so fortunate. See, the tomb for the 3rd revenant is found on the western side of the forest at the base of a large hill. All of the skeletons and the revenant are on the top of said hill, on either side, meaning we must either run around to group up the skeletons or separate and handle them as separate teams while the revenant is skull-fucking you the entire time. This fight legitimately took me hours, but you're seeing the final fight where it all worked out. We send Ali and Shale up to the left side to distract, while Win and I deal with the archer skeleton and the mage on either side. We throw a force field onto Shale as soon as the skeletons start attacking, and spam pause to buffer healing potions on Ali. Once the mage is dead, we throw a second force field onto Ali to give me time to shatter down one of the melee skeletons, while Win and Shale kill off the dual-wielding skeleton, leaving just the revenant remaining. Now, we are doing fuck all damage, but as long as we keep our health high and Ali force fielded on cooldown, we should be fine. This fight takes roughly 9 minutes of pure hell, but we make do. The revenant is dead, and for our efforts, we receive the Juggernaut armor, arguably one of the best armor sets in the game for durability and resistances. With our hellish ordeal finally over, we set pace for Denerim as we end Chapter 3. In Chapter 4, we aim to make our teammates hard, quest to end all quests, disturb the resting place of a god, kill a fuck-mothering dragon or 2, seek therapy, and save an Arl finally. Chapter 4 sees us finally leaving the forest on our way to Denerim, stopping to hit the quest waypoints on the map, clearing out wolves, shades, and darkspawn. Oh my. Once at Denerim, we really find out what it's like to play an older RPG game, because fuck me, are there quests galore. Let me count the ways. We reach the Chantry board, which has several new quests for us to complete. None of them matter. We meet Slim, an information gatherer who is willing to use us as a tool to complete several progressively escalating acts of thievery, and we are willing to help, not because we're evil, but because we have to say we did it all. Wait. We go grab Liliana, who is our resident stealth rogue, and use her to pickpocket the target Slim asks us to hit, before getting a forced cutscene regarding Ali and his sister. Really funny voice acting from him here as well. Highly recommend you give it a listen. We get our next mark and then visit Ali's sister Goldana, who is a right cunt. Now don't get me wrong, she's had a shit hand dealt to her, and that's not Ali's fault or hers, but she lashes out at Ali over the loss of their mother, and I will not have any of it. I tell her to back off, and after we leave, I give Ali the crucial life lesson that everyone is out for themselves, pushing Ali down a path that we will talk about later. For now, we leave Goldana's house and head for the wonders of Thras, before being stopped by a soldier who recognizes us from Ostagar, but doesn't somehow recognize that Loghain is a moron for lying about what happened. Sir Landry here challenges us to trial by combat, an honorable fight to the death in the most honorable of places, a back alley behind a bar. We follow Sir Landfall here, who continues to talk about honor before getting freeze spammed to death by a mage. Get fucked, idiot. My favorite part is after I'm done spell spamming him like the degenerate I am, his companions have the gall to say he died with honor and couldn't have asked for a more honorable death. Who needs enemies with friends like this, am I right? With that over with, we pickpocket the target in the mage store. Can we talk for a moment about how stupid this clipping is? Look at how I can't get up the staircase by running. I have to manually click to auto walk up the stairs. Crazy. Anyway, lady pickpocketed, we run right out of the store like the broke window shoppers we are before dropping off a weird box to a mysterious door. No questions asked. We're just the hero here. Next down our list, we stop by the Nod Noble Tavern, which is neither Nod nor noble, as the barkeep is our resident rogue quest giver, and in the back room is our Blackstone Irregulars quest giver. We also break into one of the bedrooms to steal some more for Slim. Again, just hero activities. Quests obtained, we're on the move again to Brother Genetivi's home, where we meet Brother Waylon, who tells us Jenny hasn't been heard from in weeks. Waylon seems to be trying to keep us off the trail, which just makes me more interested. And sure enough, once we walk into Genetivi's back door, not Waylon attacks and subsequently dies to us. Good riddance. Back over to Slim Jim, we have another set of people and chests to rob, and these ones are really close, which I appreciate. Once done, Slimmy Boy has a big hit for us that involves Arl, you bet your ass I'm Tim Curry, how? In the Market District. We make a mental note to deal with that later while turning in quests for the Mages Collective and picking up a dead body to be disposed of in the well. Hope Lassie doesn't rat us out again, that bitch. We tell a widow of her husband's fate for the Blackstone Irregulars before connecting with Sergeant Kylon, who in my opinion is the most down-to-earth character in the entire game. Kylon here respects us from the outset as a warden, wants peace without the need for death, and is sick of underlings being fucking useless. This is why my vote for Arl this November will be for Kylon. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We head back to the center of the market where we meet a recruiter for the Antivan Crows that Zevran told us about, and he recommends we head back to the Nahlis Nobilis Tavern via Messenger Boy, which we will deal with later. For now, we head over to the Arl Hal Market Warehouse some Reaper told us about, and this son of a bitch led, possibly unwittingly, us into an ambush, and this fight is a bitch. Large numbers of enemies, pretty well spaced out, and not much mobility in the room makes this fight painful, fast, and it does take us a few tries to properly fireball the right people before we make it out alive. With Slim Jesus needing some time to come up with a new gig for us, aka time for us to cool down before we stab him, we head over to Wade's Emporium, an emporium ran by Wade, Catchy name, really. Wade here is an armorsmith. An extravagant, if not cliche, artistic armorsmith, but a damn good one. And he has an opportunity to make us some of the best armor in the game if we can get him the right material. We'll come back to that. Wade talked to. We head back to the Nihilus Nobilis Tavern and talk to Ignacio, great name, who invites us to do some work for the Antivan Crows. But don't talk to him about it directly. Capiche? Murder? What murder?
He was the best guy around.
We head back out, continuing the questing conundrum, and come across one of those Grey Warden posters we needed, telling us to visit the Pearl. We ignore this for now, and head for the contact Liliana has here that turns out to be Marjolaine's home. Interesting. We confront Marjolaine with words after confronting her guards with swords, and this bitch has the gall to try and talk her way out of this like she didn't try to have us murdered. Marjolaine tries her best to convince us, and more importantly Liliana, that Liliana is no different than the assassin that worked at Marjolaine's side for years, and will revert back to her past eventually, turning on anyone she can't immediately use. But you know what? I won't believe this random fuck who tried to have us murdered over one of my friends, because I'm not an idiot. Liliana is a wonderful, changed woman, and I support her attempts to find the Maker, even though I already know he's waiting at our camp. I will see things through with Liliana on this path, and I will not harden her this playthrough. Liliana tells Marjolaine to leave Ferelden and never come back, and Marjolaine agrees, but warns that this isn't over. Very ominous, if it weren't for the fact that she was seconds away from death by my hands if she tried anything. With this step over, Liliana wants to speak about how things have turned out, but I don't have time for that, so we continue on. With a good chunk of the quest in the district done, we head deeper into the city towards the Pearl, where we find those soldiers Sergeant Kylon asked us about, and we ask them nicely to leave. They ask us nicely to shove it, and I ask them to meet the fucking sun. They leave with their tails between their legs and on fire, but no one dies, since I gave my word to Kylon. We pick up another dead body, another love letter here, find out the Grey Warden poster was a trap, shocker, then murder the ambushers. I'm getting better at that apparently, though you'd think I'd get better at not running into ambushes. Once done, we talk to a soldier who actually helped us earlier against the belligerent soldiers, who says we have strong hands, brother, though she says it with much more desire than I'm comfortable with. I'm a spoken for man, damn it. She does offer to teach one of our people how to be a duelist if we can beat her in a game that she is very clearly cheating in. Unfortunately, my character is much less perceptive than I am, so I have to play and lose the game several times before we realize she is cheating and can finally beat her, which unlocks the duelist specialization for us that I don't think ever actually comes into play. With the Pearl cleared out, we head towards the back alleys to handle the fight quests we have, and these vary in difficulty largely around how spread out the combatants are for me. Nice and bunched up? Free. Spread out with multiple ranged attackers? I'd rather stick my dick in a blender. We make do as best we can, often using our spells on our own people as much as the enemies, but that can't be proven in a court of law. We also find the deserted building Slimmy G told us about, which is just a slog of small fights over and over again. But we do our best to clear it out as quickly as possible. These fights in here can get very overwhelming very quickly, and if we aren't careful, there are multiple groups of combatants, often separated by only a single door. I do my best to only aggro small groups at a time, but it definitely spirals out of control a few times. Finally, in the last room, we have this wonderful dining setup, and these assholes want to ruin it with bloodshed. Very well, blood shall be had on this day as we focus down the auxiliary mage, while Ali tanks the brutes attacking him and win. Once the mage is down, I focus on the blood mage leader to ensure he doesn't get out of hand, while Liliana is just kind of there, pretending to be useful. With this done, we drop the dead body off in the well, turn in a quest to Mage's Collective, pick up a new quest from Kylon, and head over to the GNT to put some mercs in their place. We convince the Crimson Oars to paddle away before turning in quests with the Barkeep and picking up new quests from the Crows, and we are finally done with Denerim questing for now. Thank fucking God. Yes, I understand that you can come to Denram whenever you want, and however many times you want. So they expect you to come, do some quests, leave, come back, do some quests, leave. But in actually playing the game, it just doesn't make all that much sense to me to not do all the quests while I'm here, and this is mind-numbing at this point. Griping over, we turn in the final quest for now and make for our camp before heading out, because we have some conversations to be had among friends. We kick things off with finally checking back in on Liliana, who has this wonderful, heartfelt song she sings that I highly recommend you listen through at least once before we confirm to Liliana that she did the right thing and is on the right path. Liliana's past does not shape her future, and she can seek out what other path she chooses in this world, and I will support her. We then talk to Morgan, who has a ring for us? Morgan, love, this is all happening so suddenly. I don't know what to say, but yes, I do! No other check-ins hold much merit right now, so we head back to Soldier's Peak, which is now a place we can store items like a vault. And items held here will increase in level if they are able to. So it's our best interest to throw all our spare armor and weapons in here to make space while we pillage the countryside. And when we return, they will be possibly stronger than they were before. Nice. We also throw gifts and random shit in here that we don't immediately need, so that's useful. Once done here, we make our first backtrack of the campaign, and there will be many, as we head back to the Brazilian Forest Ruins to pick up the Arcane Warrior specialization, because I finally looked up where I fucking missed it. God, I'm stupid. Once done with that, we clear the optional quest markers in our path, killing anyone who dares question us, before stumbling across a man we recognize from Ostagar as one of Kaelin's men being surrounded by soldiers. We help him clear them out, but he is unfortunately wounded in the process. His dying words tell us of a compartment hidden in Ostagar that holds secret dealings Kaelin had between himself and Empress Celine of Orlais that could sway public opinion, thus beginning the Return to Ostagar DLC. We make note to do this later on after we are a bit stronger and continue back to Lake Calenhad, where we find out someone has already picked up Sten's sword and is heading for Orzammar. With that update done, we complete a few quests at the Spoiled Princess before asking the barkeep for information on Brother Genitivi, who clearly lied to us. Why do people continue to do this? I am literally the most dangerous person in Ferelden at this point. Tell me what I want, and I might spare your lives. We walk outside and immediately get ambushed by cultist people. Weird, but goddamn are they efficient. I wasn't in there for more than a few minutes and these fuckers were ready. With all our information and patience running thin, we make our way towards the village of Haven to get to the bottom of this whole cultist business. Haven is honestly a beautiful town, only mired by its people, which you could honestly say about a lot of towns nowadays, I suppose, who really don't want us to be here, which only makes me want to be here more. A small amount of snooping around has us being attacked again by cultists who are now barehanded, as if they didn't want to insult me more. We clear a very bloody path up to the village's chantry where we find Father Eirik in prayer, but not any prayer I have heard before. Father here asks us if we've enjoyed our time in Haven, as if I haven't butchered his neighbors for sport, to which I reply yes, very much so. I'm actually looking at houses at this point for a summer home. Eirik clearly doesn't like the idea of property values going up with a Grey Warden moving in and attacks, to little success. Once the father is dead, we search the side rooms to find Brother Genitivi doing his best impersonation of a rug waiting for us. We help the wounded brother to his feet, who lets us know the father's necklace is the key to finding the urn of sacred ashes needed to cure Arl Eamon, and he will show us the way if we carry his hobbled ass there. Fine. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. Broseph Genitivi leads us to this giant fuck you castle that no one has been able to see somehow. The forest is not blocking this bitch. I refuse to believe you. We make our way inside and, thankfully, leave Big Bro Genitivi at the entrance to research the temple while we make our way deeper inside. Pause. We clear out this labyrinth of rooms and corridors of all the cultists we run into, and it's a slog, as we aren't posed a serious threat outside of ourselves, that is. See, I made the moronic decision after getting Arcane Warrior to deck my mage out in heavy armor and give him a giant sword, but that only slows down his ability to cast spells, and it takes me far longer than I'm willing to talk about in detail to realize this. Anyway, first floor cleared, nothing really of note, moving on. We do much the same in the caverns here, which the tighter hallway makes for much easier cleanup in my opinion, before we start running into drakes and dragonlings. They aren't necessarily hard to kill, but they do lots of damage very quickly, so it'll be important anytime we fight drakes to focus them down as fast as possible. Now, it's important to note I'm really glossing over the minor details here in the Ruined Temple and the caverns, because there isn't all that much needed to talk about, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. This temple is home to a fanatical group of worshippers who believe that Andraste, the wife of the Maker, prophet, and origin of the main religion we see in Ferelden, had not been burned to ash, whose urn had been moved here to be protected, but instead had been reborn anew into a dragon that lives atop the mountain above this temple, and they worship the dragon as their new deity. This is all very interesting stuff we get directly from the cultists, and absolutely, I would love to learn more about it. But thematically in lore, we're on a timer here. Eamon is safe and stable for now, but we do not know how long that will last. We also know the Darkspawn Horde is fast approaching the north and has already taken over several villages we have visited. Time is not our friend, and we are here for one goal: reach the summit, secure the urn, and return to Eamon. So there is this innate sense of urgency that makes the gameplay feel like you are being pushed forward, regardless how many fights are in front of you, because the world is relying on you to make it through. And I really appreciate that subtle storytelling through gameplay that we'll be talking about more later, though much more controversially, I believe. With my rambling aside, we've killed several larger drakes while running through the caverns here, and we've looted from their bodies drake scales that give us an update to go back to see Wade. I wonder why. Anyways, we near the top of the temple where we run into Colgrim, who is the de facto leader of the cultists. I thought Father Iric was the leader, I hear you saying. So did I! Colgrim here thinks he can shame us into helping for desecrating his home, to which I laugh in spellcasting. We draw arms. Colgrim is one tanky son of a bitch, so it is important we utilize our tried and true strategy of dive, duck, dip, dodge, and dive.
The 5 Ds of dodgeball!
The mages are the first to go. I hate myself, I know. Then we kill off the lesser warrior, but we lose Wolf and Allie in the process. Cue funny chase music while we train Colgrim around the room for several minutes until Wynn can revive Wolf and we finish off Colgrim for good. You definitely will never see this strategy ever again. We leave the room to head back down a different corridor and get overrun by a large group of cultists, dragonlings, and drakes, oh my. We fall here, and I forgot to save after Colgrim. Fuck me. Listen, alright. Nightmare mode is a bitch because you are so frail. Not in part due to my own shitty team comps builds, but if you intend to do this yourself, please save often. You will regret not doing so. We kill Colgrim again, then we take the other room much more slowly, picking people off one at a time to ensure I'm not overrun. And this weird overseer cultist has spell immunity for some reason. I don't think we ever figure out why he has this, or ever see it again, but it still was a cool fight. With everything cleared out, we continue to the summit where we have an awesome cutscene, and the first real appearance of a massive dragon. 40 some odd hours in, we finally get a dragon in Dragonage, and honestly, I think the timing is really good on it. They betray the dragons are the pinnacle of life in Ferelden, and the ultimate threat. The dragon flies in, lands on a cliffside, and lays down, not directly approaching or interacting with us. The dragon is a massive warning that if you trifle with me, I will fuck you up. But if you go peacefully, I will sleep, because I'm Eepy, and we are more than happy to let him sleep. For now. We continue on by and enter the Gauntlet, dope name, where we run into a man who isn't a man, but does have dope armor. The Guardian, as he calls himself, states he protects the Urn of Ashes and will let us proceed only if we prove ourselves worthy. We get some amazing dialogue here that the cultists were descendants of the very men who brought Andraste's ashes here and swore to protect her, but over time have lost their way and forgot their promises to protect Andraste and her ashes. The Guardian does confirm Andraste is in fact dead, so that dragon is free to kill in my eyes. But first, we need those ashes. Now, it is very interesting that throughout our time in game, we have found things beyond our comprehension when it comes to an all-knowing celestial being. But the Guardian truly is the closest to that, as he knows of our past and is able to ask us about Jowen and how we feel in terms of what we did to Jowen way back in the beginning of the game. And now that as enough time has passed, I can agree with everyone in the comments that I did wrong by Jowen and shouldn't have ratted him out. The Guardian is pleased with my answer and does the same with Ali, Liliana, and Wynn, asking questions only they themselves would know. With the questions answered, the Guardian lets us proceed to the first test of the gauntlet, in which we must answer some more riddles like with the bear from so long ago. I'm going to lie to you now and tell you my dumbass knew all of these answers outright. Yep, I'm just that smart. Yeah. Riddles are complete. We move on to test number 2, where we meet a spiritual Jowen who gives me the apology accepted I truly never deserved. Test number 3 finds us fighting spirit versions of ourselves, which, shocker, we are an absolute bitch to fight, and we quickly lose the first fight. Reloading the save, I decide to try and throw a I tried to throw a fireball at the beginning of Fuck you! Stop stunning me! I reloaded the save far more times than I am proud of to get this fireball off, and I finally succeed, leading to a very quick victory in round 2 of this best of 3 grand final here at Haven. Moving on to the 4th test, since I already didn't lie to you about Googling the first test, I 100% Googled this test. Sue me. Still a very cool puzzle design involving plates creating corporeal plates to cross a chasm, and I absolutely could have figured it out, but I didn't, so here we are. We finally reach the room containing Andraste's ashes, but we must first strip, to pass the barrier of fire stopping us. A leap of faith, if you will, that grants us access and worthiness to retrieve the urn of sacred ashes. Now, could I have put my clothes back on before the cutscene? Yes. Did I? No. Do I regret it? Also no. I am the chosen one, bitches. We take only a pinch of the ashes, leaving the urn in its rightful place before leaving the gauntlet to face the real gauntlet outside. Now, we can skip this fight altogether and never face this dragon, but where's the fun in that? I'm here for a goddamn dragon fight, and I'm not leaving without one. Now, I remember looking up videos when I was younger, and everyone talked about how hard the dragon boss fights are. Everyone recommends coming back here before the end to fight the dragon as an optional boss fight. But can I be honest? This fight was easy. Like, really easy. Like, our ghosts were significantly harder to beat. I started off by separating Liliana, Wolf, and Wynn to different areas, leaving Ali in the center to draw aggro. Once ready, I used the horn we got off Colgrim to make the dragon attack, and it immediately pounced onto Wolf, instead of Ali, already fucking up my plan. It's okay, no biggie, I just switched spots with Ali and Wolf, while Wynn keeps Wolf at full health, and our plan is back in action. Once we're set up, Liliana is peppering the dragon with 1,000 arrows, Wynn and Wolf are spamming frost spells, Ali is tanking the dragon head on, and anytime Ali's health went down, Wynn uses a heal spell and Ali pops a potion. If his health drops really low, I use force field on him, and the dragon stays aggroed on him while he's invulnerable. The ice spells are chunking the dragon down very quickly, and within about 5 minutes, the dragon is dead like nothing happened. Easy, thus gaining me the title of Dragon Slayer, Slayer of one dragon. With the dragon cleared, we meet back with Broski Genitivi, who is flabbergasted to find out that the thing he would be up here for was actually there. And we now have some, though we have a bit of a dilemma here. See, the G-Man wants to take this information and spread it out through the Chantry's inner workings and start up expeditions to allow pilgrims to visit the urn, much like the Guardian assumed would happen. The game gives us the option to let Genitivi do this or silence him right now for good. Which is a wild set of options to me, seeing as literally nothing good can come from letting more people have access to the ashes, but it's a complete asshole move to stop him. I think back on Jowen forgiving me, and this time I'm siding with my bro and we let Genitivi spread the good word. With Haven complete, we stop back at camp and complete Liliana's storyline, seeing her stand firm on her beliefs and feel confident in her decisions. We also check in on Allie, who agrees with us on becoming hard. Pause. Completing his storyline as well for now. We also check back in on Sten to let him know about the sword and Orzammar and our plans to not go there just yet. He is not pleased, but then again, he is rarely pleased, so who fucking cares? Camp complete, onward to Ostagar. Walking back through the remnants of the Ostagar war camp we visited in the prologue is the perfect amount of somber, eerie, and mournful, and the fights here are just problematic enough to make you feel the weight that rests on your player's shoulders. This is what will happen to the rest of Ferelden if you don't stop this blight, and nothing spells this out greater for you than coming upon Kaelin's body on the bridge. No pause needed. Kaelin may not have been a great king who will be remembered in history for his actions and accolades like he dreamed, but Kaelin was a good man, and he deserved better than this. We leave the cutscene with the resolve to do whatever we must to clear through the remaining forces the Horde left here to ensure Kaelin can receive a proper burial. We clear every nook and cranny we can to rid this field of any Darkspawn taint remaining. The storyline here has us retracing our steps from the night the Oscar battle, chasing a Genlock necromancer who continues to evade us throughout the process and does a wonderful job of letting the backdrop and the scenery tell a foreboding story without any need for exposition. We know the gist of what happened here, and the battlefields themselves fill us in on the details. The fights aren't particularly difficult, though they do a good job of throwing just the right amount of disposable mobs to make us work for each fight, and there are key combatants in each area that hold a piece of armor worn by King Kaelin that we're sure to collect. We continue past the bridge to the tower we lit the beacon in, and then down in a tunnel that the Darkspawn Horde appears to have dug, murdering anything in our path in the name of Kaelin. Once outside of the tunnels, we find ourselves at the bottom of the battlefield, where Duncan and Kaelin originally fell. And going back to that original dope cutscene, we can see that the very ogre Duncan embedded his blades in still rests here, but the necromancer ensures he rests no longer, as we must battle through the ogre to kill the necromancer. This fight is not as easy as it appears, as the necromancer continues sending out corpses while we deal with the ogre, and is very easy to get overwhelmed in it. Allie falls early, but I keep Wynn alive specifically to res him, while Wolf continues our legendary technique of zombie training the ogre away from the fight to allow Wynn and Liliana to thin out the corpses. It takes some time, but we eventually clear out enough of the corpses to allow us to focus in on the ogre, though we do lose Allie again in the process. With the ogre low and the corpses dead, I have Wynn and Liliana focus down the necromancer. Probably should have done that earlier, honestly, while Wolf keeps the train moving. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I bring the ogre too close to Wynn, who draws aggro, which buys Wolf time to spell spam the ogre down, though at the cost of Wynn's life, and Liliana and Wolf make short work of the necromancer's remaining health. With Ostagar now safe, we collect Duncan's dagger and sword from the fallen ogre, as well as Kaelin's helm from the necromancer, which completes the set that we will use often in the back half of this playthrough. We finally return to Kaelin on the bridge and give him the proper burial pyre fit for a king, with the knowledge that we carry on his legacy to end this blight. No funny jokes or puns here. Kaelin was a good man. We will avenge him. With Ostagar clear, we are close by Flemeth's house and decide it is time to fuck this bitch up. Morgan can't be in our team for this, which doesn't bother us much since she wasn't in it before either, so we make our way over without much delay. Flemeth doesn't seem shocked at all at our arrival, and is more than willing to play our game, and as we prepare our oh fuck, she's a dragon. Wait, we just fucked up a dragon a few minutes ago. There's no way that trick works twice, right? Right? BioWare, you stupid bitch, it works twice. We spread everyone out, and this time we don't have to worry about the dragon landing on Wolf, as she's just standing there, so we run Allie up and have everyone else start spamming. Same plan as the last time. We heal Allie until his health gets low, then force field to give time to heal him back up. Rinse, repeat, victory. Eat shit, Flemeth. Though she does take out Allie this time, so kudos for that, I suppose. This victory does upgrade our Slayer title to Dragon Slayer of 2 dragons, really moving up in the world. With Flemeth dead, we head inside her home to gather her grimoire for our future wife and head back to camp. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong. Morgan warns us that Flemeth most assuredly wouldn't have died that easily, and is most likely hiding in the shadows, but hopefully with the grimoire, Morgan will be prepared when she returns. That aside, we check in with everyone else, give Zevran some nice and Antivan leather, and Liliana some Andraste's Grace flowers that remind her of her mother. With these gifts, we have all companions available at as high of a reputation as we need them for any current companion quests, so we're looking pretty good all things considered. I'm also using this as an excuse to clear out my inventory a bit at this point, as space management is becoming an issue on a regular basis, as I'm sure you've seen. Once done in the camp, we continue our side questing adventure by heading back over to the Brazilian forest to complete some bounty quests for the Mages Collective involving a group of Maleficar, or rogue mages if you will. No, not that rogue, Furley, gone rogue. With everything on the bottom half of the map basically done, we finally make way to Redcliffe because we have absolutely left Ireneeeeee in stasis waiting for us. On the way there, we have a dreamlike vision of the Archdemon gazing upon us, and goddamn are these graphics not up to snuff in 2025. That Archdemon looks like a rat with large teeth. God, I love Dragon Age. We are awoken by Allie, who had the same dream, then attacked by shrieks at camp, which is a common BioWare trope for these older games, in which your base camp is no longer safe. And you know why it's a common trope? Because it fucking works. It creates a sense of urgency. We are losing this war and we are running out of places to go, and I fucking love it. Now, there are issues with this, and we will talk about it later, but for now, we reach Redcliffe, turn in some quests, and check in on the dwarf who helped us survive the night. And we have an interesting interaction here. See, if we talk to him now and bring up a sword, he will tell us he has it in a chest in the back room. You then go to said back room, and there's definitely a chest there, but you can't touch it. See, we were told there's a guy outside Orzammar selling the sword, and he definitely did have it. He then sold it to the dwarf who is now here. We have sequence broke the game, but not in a good way, because the sword isn't in the chest until we talk with the guy in Orzammar, meaning we gotta revert this save and go talk to him before the dwarf. Fuck. We ignore that for now and continue to the castle, where we let Bon Tegan know the good news and move to use the ashes on Eamon immediately. Much like the cocaine I take in the morning, it wakes Ireneeeeee right up, and he seems ready to make things right. After we take the time to fill him in on what he's missed, Eamon announces that he will make us champions of Redcliffe, protected under his name, and he will go a step further by declaring he will challenge Loghain's authority. He will spread the word of Loghain's treachery, but we need more. We need someone that has a legitimate claim to the throne. Now, who do we know that happens to have royal blood? Oh, hey, Allie, where the fuck do you think you're going? Alistair here will be our king would-be to rally behind in a landsmeet of the nobles and regents of the land to determine who Ferelden will side with. Once this is settled, we then get to the issue of Jowen in the cell below, and Eamon asks us for our thoughts on the matter. I can think of no better way to do right by Jowen after accepting his forgiveness in the gauntlet than by handing his ass back over to the tower. May the Maker have mercy on your soul, I guess, Jowen. Eamon recommends at this point that we use what little time remaining we have to secure any other allies for the war before heading for Denerim, which means we gotta go talk to the dwarves of Orzammar now in Chapter 5. Chapter 5 will see us doing the following. We will enter Rocktown, topple a cartel, wash my eyes with bleach, defeat a legend, and crown a king. Upon reaching the Frostback Mountain Pass, where the entrance to Orzammar is found, we are greeted by Loghain goons waiting to die to us, and I'm happy to oblige. We skirt past their dead bodies to find several merchants and sellswords waiting outside Orzamar's gates to do trade with anyone interested. We find the man who had Sten's sword here and update his quest along with another board quest murder before heading up to the entrance. Here, we get a very interesting cutscene in which a man claiming to be here on behalf of King Loghain is requesting counsel from the King of Orzammar, but is refused entrance as there currently is no king and the dwarven people need to handle the passage of power before they can deal with outsiders. This is super interesting because Loghain has never once claimed to be king in any of the cutscenes. Loghain is the regent and head of the armies until a king can be decided on, and he wants no more or less. We hear this title from several of the Loghain thugs we fought across the countryside, but never king. We never find out why this man calls Loghain king, as we'll kill him shortly after this cutscene, but I saw a wonderful video from Lore Runner, link in the description, in which he theorizes this man was sent by Tim, Arl Rendon Howe Curry, and that honestly makes a lot of sense, so I'm running with it. My videos on these games are simple and stupid, by the way. If you want a genuine philosophical breakdown of DAO and other amazing games, please give Lore Runner a listen. He has kept me company through many long nights and long drives, and is a pleasure to listen to. Back to the reason we are killing this man, Imrek is his name by the way, if you care, I didn't, is upset that we as Grey Wardens are allowed passage into Orzammar by right of our treaties, but he is not by right of the king, and decides to challenge us. Once we add his group's bodies to the pile, we enter Orzammar with little issue, and boy are we in for a ride. See, Orzammar is a completely different world to any other area we have witnessed so far. See, the Dwarven people have very unique beliefs, and stand firmly on them at all times. We see this no sooner than entering when we witness two rival groups discussing who should be the next king. Things get a little out of hand, and feeling disrespected, one of them draws a weapon and kills a member of the opposing group. Everyone else sees this and leaves. The rivalry between the two would-be kings of Harrowmount and Balin is dividing the dwarves of Orzammar across lines that will seemingly only be crossed with bloodshed, and this is considered a normal way of handling things here, and we are now caught in the center of it. We need the help of the dwarves. The dwarves will not acknowledge our request without an active king, so we need to help make one, and we truly can put either on the throne here, and each one will handle the future differently, so we must choose wisely. Eeny, meeny, miny, what? Don't judge me! The captain of the guard makes it very clear that we will not be allowed to do whatever we want here. We need to learn about the ways of the dwarves and respect it if we want to get anything done. So we make our way towards the Shaperate. What is the Shaperate, you might ask? Fucking awesome is what it is. See, the Dwarven people record their history directly into stone slabs that are kept and archived within the Shaperate. This also means that dwarves can very easily be written, or in this case chiseled, in and out of history completely. We see this when we first entered Orzammar. There were these wonderful stone statues depicting paragons. No, not that paragon. Paragons are dwarves who have achieved greatness by means of helping the dwarven people in such an extraordinary way that are deemed worthy of being revered as one of their ancestors while still alive. Paragons are the living embodiment of what it means to be a dwarf, and a paragon's legacy will continue on past death through the Shaperate. This is especially important to note because of how fucked living in dwarven cities can be. See, dwarves take nobility to a whole other level. They use a caste system, and an extremely fucked caste system at that. The dwarves follow a 4-step patriarchal caste system in which the upper caste consists of nobles, the middle caste consists of warriors, smiths, miners, and merchants, and the lower caste belongs to the servants. And the caste list are the lowest of the low, not even considered full dwarves in dwarven society. And I want you to guess where the majority of the dwarves sit in the caste system currently. I want you to sit here and tell me with a straight face that this isn't the type of exposition dump you'd get from a standalone game. Orzammar is fucking amazing in a gritty, horrific to look at, but you can't look away type of way, and I love it. Now that we've learned enough to make steam come out of Wolf's ears, we move through Orzammar completing menial quests such as finding out if the Noble Assembly, Dwarven Congress if you will allow a chantry to be formed in Orzammar. You're fucking high if you think they will. As well as a grieving mother searching for her son who ran off to become a hero in the Deep Roads. We'll come back to that. We enter a bar, because of course we do. This is a fantasy setting and I need info. And we meet a warrior who didn't need to die Duncan. He tells us about these roads that are deep roads if you will, that are the passageway between taigs, or homesteads of great houses, that are built directly into the stone. Most of the deep roads have been overrun by darkspawn ever since the First Blight, and dwarves have been fending them off as a job for centuries. Though the battle is definitely seen as a foregone conclusion that we cannot hold off the darkspawn forever. We also find out that Grey Wardens, when they are ready to retire, come here to enter the deep roads and fight to their dying breath against the darkspawn horde to help keep these roads safe just a little longer. We learn that Balin and Harrowmont are basically at a stalemate in the assembly and can't find that last bit of push to tip the scales, but they know there is one out there. See, that whole Paragon spiel wasn't for shits and giggles. There is a Paragon alive right now, Bronca, but she went into the deep roads some time ago in search of an ancient bit of dwarven technology to protect the dwarven people, and hasn't been heard from or seen in quite some time. Dwarven warriors are being sent out in packs to search lost taigs in the hopes of finding Bronca to bring her back, as a Paragon would have the last bit of sway needed to guarantee victory for either side. We could go that route, but for now, we will see if we can do anything here to start. We leave the bar and continue questing away, finding a dwarven woman interested in being accepted to the Circle of Magi. This is interesting because dwarves cannot become mages due to their deep connection to the lyrium that they mine here and export to the rest of Ferelden. This is also doubly interesting because dwarves are not allowed to go topside. Doing so turns any dwarf that isn't a Grey Warden casteless. This means that if this woman leaves Orzammar for the Circle, she will never be accepted here again, and we have to keep this thought in mind when we help her. We head back into the Shaper and pick up quests involving a thief that appears to be casteless and a young dwarf who believes her family is a higher caste than the Shaper it shows, and asks us to find proof in the Deep Roads. Once done in the Diamond Quarter, we head down to the slums to protect a merchant from a cartel known as a Carta because we are witty and unique, and this bastard is upset with me for it. Says something about a Jarvia killing him. What the fuck is a Jarvia? With all the side quests accepted, I move back to the Diamond Quarter and meet with the second of Lord Harrowmont, who wants us to prove we are willing to be loyal to Harrowmont by way of joining the Proving in his honor. What is the Proving, you might ask? Stupid! Have you not been paying attention? Oh, wait, I didn't explain the Proving? My bad, G. My bad. The Proving is a gladiator-styled arena where disputes can be settled in front of the Shaperate. What does this mean in normal fucking terms? Winning a Proving doesn't just win the fight. It states before all of history that you are right in your argument and have the favor of the dwarven ancestors, essentially gods. You also can gain standing in within the dwarven castes by continually winning Provings, so it is an extremely important, revered part of dwarven society. And by standing for Harrowmont here, we are essentially declaring our loyalty and spitting in the face of Balin. Now, you probably are rightly asking who these fucks are that I keep bringing up, so while you watch me curb stomp some dwarves, let me tell you the tale of the tape. In the red corner, we have Lord Harrowmont, a senior noble of the Assembly and a loyal friend and fighting partner known as a second, to the late King Endin Iduncan. Haramont's claim to the throne is that he is the strongest of will and knowledge in the assembly, was the second in command to the previous king, and was at the dying king's bedside when the king warned him not to let his son take the throne. The only one at his side to hear this. Haramont is a staunch traditionalist who is averse to change, as I am to maintaining my New Year's resolutions, but he has a good head on his shoulders and wants what's best for the dwarven people. In the blue corner, we find Prince Balin Iduncan, third son to the late king, who believes he should have right to the throne through the bloodline of his father, with his two older brothers out of commission. Where are his older brothers, you might ask? See, if you play through the Dwarven Noble Origin, you find yourself as the second son of King Iduncan, and are tricked by Balin into fighting and subsequently killing your older brother Trian. If you don't fight him, Balin has him killed anyway, and frames you for the death. Something a Lannister always pays his debts, I don't fucking know. Either way, you are imprisoned and sentenced to fight in the Deep Roads for the remainder of your life. This actually brings up a very interesting point Lorerunner made in his previously cited video. Each of the different origins are real characters. That second son does exist and does get sentenced to the Deep Roads. The only difference in each playthrough is where Duncan is and who he saves. And in our playthrough, Duncan didn't make it in time to save the second son of King Iduncan, and that leaves Balin as the rightful prince and heir to the throne. Balin is a reformist who believes the dwarves can only succeed by foregoing their isolationist ways and opening their doors to more direct and opulent outside trade, and he's willing to kill to get his way. With all of this out of the way, our proving fights are complete for now, and we return to Haramont's estate, where we meet with the man himself, who congratulates us on our efforts in the provings and asks for us to bring an end to Jarvia, who I once again reply, "Who?" We accept, if only because we have no other choice, and return to Dusttown, where we complete a few side quests involving a young woman kicked from her home due to having a bastard, and a merchant who needs some lyrium smuggled to the Circle of Magi before finding the secret, but also not so secret, Carta hideout, where some members are waiting, stating that this bitch Jarvia knew we were coming, which is more than I know about her! We begin clearing out the hideout, and let me tell you something. Dwarves are assholes. These monsters fight from the fucking womb, and their closeness to lyrium means they are fucking resilient to most of the magic I can throw at them. We regularly lose one and sometimes two people per fight on our way to the center of the hideout, and it only gets worse once we get there. Jarvia. This bitch right here, that's Jarvia. What do we know about her? She fucks. She fucks so hard, and she's here to fuck me, and not in the good way. Jarvia does insane amounts of damage, is tanky as can be, and has several assassins to aid her that go invisible and sneak up on you to do massive amounts of damage. And our tried and true train strategy is hampered by the trip mines she has laid across the room. The dragons don't hold a candle to this Jarvia fight with my current team composition, and it takes me about 5 tries to finally kill the bitch and clear out the Carta for good. With the Carta defeated, we head back to Haramont's estate, and I should note we have been attacked twice now by Balin supporters, which is really doing a terrible job of convincing me to side with him. I tell Haramont of our victory, and he tells us Balin is forcing a vote in 2 days for the new king, and currently the vote seems to fall in Balin's favor. Haramont asks us to take our team into the Deep Roads in search of the last living paragon, Bronca, in the hopes of bringing her back to sway the vote in Haramont's favor, and we make our way back down to the common area to enter the Deep Roads as soon as possible. Right before we reach the deep roads, we are stopped by a belligerent drunk looking for our Grey Warden. Sorry, mate, I don't have any spare change. Wait, did he just insult me? I like your style. Welcome to the crew, Ogren. Ogren here knows something no one else does. Bronca is searching for the Anvil of the Void, an ancient piece of technology said to create the legendary golems that helped protect the dwarves during Blight's past, and the very same anvil that created Shale. With Ogren in the team, we immediately swap him back out for Allie and enter what most people I hear consider the worst part of the game. And I have a controversial take. The deep roads aren't as bad as people make it out to be. Yeah, I know. You think your booze matter in your mother's basement, but keep in mind, if you throw that bottle, it'll only hit your monitor, not me. The problem I always hear about the deep roads is that they are long, not really well paced, and repetitive in the combat. I will counter that with the fact that they are intentionally all of these things thematically. The deep roads have been overrun by darkspawn for generations, and the dwarves have been losing ground year over year. The areas we enter early on are taigs that were evacuated because of the spread of the darkspawn, meaning the only dwarves we meet out here are the strongest warriors Orzammar has to spare, who are also crazy enough to risk their lives for what is essentially a lost cause in preserving these territories. They are also pretty barren right now because we are told in lore the darkspawn run rampant down here when there isn't a blight, and go above ground when there is. That means the main army that is normally blasting through here like my Taco Bell lunch through my asshole is actually out ravaging the rest of Ferelden, so we are left fighting newly born darkspawn and stragglers, along with spiders, the worst thing we need to fight here. So yes, there aren't many things to do here, but keep pushing forward, killing everything in our path. And I want you to consider what that feeling creates for our character in lore. I can only imagine the sense of helplessness we must be experiencing pushing through corridor after corridor, knowing so many Grey Wardens and dwarves have walked these same paths before us, knowing they would never reach the other side and would perish on these roads. We are fighting a battle we are never meant to win as we progress through the Iduken Thaig, through Caridin's Cross, and finally clear through Ortenthaig, where we defeat this difficult Spider Queen fight and finally find a book left behind by Bronca that details where they have gone, and that they have finally made progress on locating the Anvil of the Void. This is immediately accompanied by a random death the next fight after, and guess who forgot to save before the Spider Queen fight? Fuck! With Ortenthaig cleared, we head for the Dead Trenches, a very fitting name for a very cool cutscene that shows an army fitting for Mordor, heading topside along with our first real-life look at the Archdemon. And I stand by my previous statement, that is a rat with extra teeth. See, the Dead Trenches get its name from the numerous times dwarves have fought over, defended, lost, and then regained this ancient castle originally built by Paragon Caridin, the creator of the Anvil of the Void, and we meet here a group of warriors called the Legion of the Dead. Badass warriors who give up their house and livelihood to murder as many goddamn darkspawn as they can while they still hold breath. Cardol here doesn't mince words and tells us we are wasting our time looking for a dead paragon, but they will gladly keep the trenches clear while we go get ourselves killed, and we progress on without their help for some reason, lazy bastards. We cross the bridge to what is essentially no man's land for the people that live in no man's land, and these fights feel cinematic with the castle walls as a backdrop. How can you not like this? Once we clear the way, those jackasses cross over and say they like the cut of our jib before wishing us luck as we continue deeper into the castle. We make sure to clear out all the side corridors and living corridors as we collect pieces of the Legion armor set hidden within coffins spaced throughout the trenches. The fights here are significantly easier within the corridors than when they are spaced out, as my AoE magic can mow through the various enemies they throw at us. Once through to the end of the trenches and past the Forge Master mini-boss fight, we start to hear various ominous phrases that can really make your skin crawl if you're not expecting them. First day, they come and catch everyone. Second day, they beat us and eat some for meat. Third day, the men are all gnawed on again. Fourth day, we wait and fear for our fate. Fifth day, they return and it's another girl's turn. Sixth day, her screams we hear in our dreams. Seventh day, she grew as in her mouth they spew. Eighth day, we hated as she is violated. Ninth day, she grins and devours her kin. Now she does feast as she's become the beast. Now you lay and wait, for their screams will haunt you in your dreams. This is a poem being recited by Hespeth, a member of Bronka's group who witnessed the atrocities ahead of us. See, we never really talked about how the Darkspawn were originally created, and how they seem to repopulate. When the Darkspawn ravage an area, they don't just murder everyone like you'd expect. No, that's wasteful. The Darkspawn will take the women hostage, and force the women to feed off the bodies of the fallen Med, and the fallen Darkspawn, tainting them with the foul ichor that runs through a Darkspawn's body. With enough time to feed, the women become brood mothers, who give birth to new Darkspawn to regain their numbers lost in any fight they find themselves in. Hespeth here has tried her best to fight off the affliction and starve herself to try and maintain what little sanity she has left by the time we find her. We do hear an interesting tidbit from Hespeth about Bronka enduring watching Laren, another woman of the group, becoming corrupted, that she didn't stop her, which begs the question, where is Bronka? She also mentions loving Bronka, which is interesting because we don't hear any inherently anti-gay agenda from the dwarves, and I'm 100% here for it. Good on you, Orzammar. Anyway, back to the hellhole, where Hespeth has really given us some heavy-handed hints that Bronka has caused the situation, but it's fine. She's a paragon. Murder? What murder?
He was the best guy around.
With Hespeth not having anything else to say to us, we go get the final piece of Legion armor from the Legion burial area. Then we immediately piss off the ghost and fight a bunch of Legion dead before dealing with a unique mini-boss here, Genga Shade, which is only unique in name and dies relatively easily. With nothing else to do here for now but move forward, we make our way towards the very thing Hespeth had been telling us about, Laren the Broodmother. This fight is a lot of fun as you have to juggle keeping consistent damage on the Broodmother while quickly dropping any tentacles she brings up to avoid getting hit with large amounts of AoE damage from the multiple tentacles. As always, our patented tank, heal, force field prevails and we clear the Broodmother on our first try. With the Broodmother dead, Hespeth fucks off and we are free to continue to a new area aptly named the Anvil of the Void. I wonder what's here. We also are forced to swap Liliana out for Oghren again as we are confronted by Bronka, who talks to us much how a scientist talks to a monkey being trained to traverse mazes. We find out that Oghren is married to Bronka, but Bronka's clearly a psychotic bitch now, which honestly pairs with Oghren's drunkenness well, honestly, and Bronka is much less pleased to see Oghren than he is to see her. See, Bronka really doesn't give a shit about the politics, or even the dwarven people of Orzammar at all. All she cares about is how we once pushed back the Darkspawn using the anvil to create golems, and she will stop at nothing to access the anvil and begin the creation of golems once more, including turning her own troops into broodmares and fodder to create more Darkspawn that Bronka can use to clear out the various traps between her and the anvil. which we will now take the place of apparently. We quickly kit Oghren up with any gear we have on us and clear out the 3 waves of Darkspawn. Seriously, Bronca? You couldn't get through 3 waves? Pathetic. Trap 1 complete, we push forward to a hallway of death by Golem that makes you walk forward then get attacked from behind, as if I would be too afraid to just walk back out of the room and force the golems through narrow doorways. You fools. Now don't get me wrong, these golems are units, so they are not the easiest to take down. It is very important that we only take on 1 at a time to keep Oghren from getting squished into an even smaller dwarf. Once the room is empty of dwarfs, I'm stupid, I wrote dwarfs. Once the room is empty of golems, we can then do the stupid gas puzzle they expected us to do in the middle of the fight, which is hilarious seeing as out of combat we basically cannot die to this poison. They really fucked this one up. As we leave the room, the devs clearly heard my mocking comments and sent the last 2 golems at the same time to attack me, those bastards. Next room, very similar to the first, except we now can't take the golems on 1 at a time, but we still herd them back into the caves for easy AoE spell spamming, and we make do as best we can. 3 fights later, we are through the second trap and on to the third and final, the false anvil. We find a room with a giant floating statue, with 4 anvils surrounding it, and a ghost at each anvil. Here is what you're supposed to do. You need to kill one of the ghosts, then click that ghost's anvil to shoot a shot into the floating statue, dealing damage to it. Then move to the next anvil, so on and so forth. Here is what I did. I killed the first ghost, then pulled all the ghosts together and killed them all while staring at the stupid glowing anvil, clearly telling me to press it, only for more ghosts to spawn once I killed the 4 ghosts. It is sad how long I sat here killing ghosts before finally clicking the anvils for. Please type in the comments, "Wolf must you fool, click the glowing anvil," as you watch me struggle. Once I finally come to my senses, the trap is relatively simple to beat and we move on quickly. And by quickly, I mean 25 minutes later. With nothing else in our way, we reach the Anvil of the Void, guarded by Paragon Caridin in golem form. Caridin warns us that while the golems were the greatest defense for the dwarven race, they were also their greatest predator. See, each golem was created using the life force of a living dwarf, and what started as volunteers turned into a river of blood as more and more dwarves, Caridin included, were put on the anvil and forged into golems. Due to the design, a golem cannot destroy the anvil, so Caridin sealed himself and the anvil away to prevent more souls from being enslaved while he worked on finding a way to destroy the evil device. Bronca runs in at this point claiming she can use the anvil to bring the dwarven people back to their original glory, the very same notion Caridin believed when he created it, and it didn't get him to his goal, so why would we ever assume it would for Bronca? No, I will not let the anvil consume more souls, and I side with Caridin. Big no-no in Bronca's eyes as she pulls out a control rod similar to the one we used on Shale and takes control of several golems to attack. Interestingly, this control rod takes control of 4 golems, but leaves Caridin and 2 other golems completely free. I imagine in playtesting this fight was a bloodbath with all 6 golems aside from Caridin being controlled, and I'm fine with the additional help, because Bronca is 110% that bitch. She eats our damage for breakfast and forces her own damage down our throats. Pause. I chose to eliminate the lesser golems first while having our tanks run prevent defense for Win and Wolf. Once the lesser golems are down, it's frost spell spam time, as you've seen me do dozens of times at this point, because it fucking works. Except it absolutely doesn't work in this instance, as I lose Wolf after 2 of the golems are down, and have to finish off a 3rd with Allie while Win desperately tries to keep everyone alive. Though we lose Allie shortly after. We still have 1 golem and Caridin, so I let them handle the last golem while I run around with Win grabbing lyrium deposits to get the mana to revive Wolf and Allie. With the golems down, the best play is to force field someone to distract Bronca while we pepper her down as best as we can. And god is she healthy. We almost lose Wolf again, so I force field him to give Win time to gain mana, then heal everyone up as best as I can. But it's not enough, and Wolf goes down again. We also lose Carradine at this point, so it's just the Golem, Allie, and Oghren against Bronca, while Wynn gets more lyrium to revive Wolf again. But now Allie is dying. Bronca is running our team down one at a time, and she still has around 30% health, so things are not looking good. Bronca takes down the Golem and is chasing down Oghren when I have a realization. Allie and Wolf died right next to each other. With Oghren's last moments, I move him into position right beside them and let him die. As Bronca begins chasing down Wynn, I make my move and revive all three to re-enter the fray, and with everyone up, Wolf with enough mana to force field again, we use everything we have, and we kill Bronca once and for all. Fuck me, that was the hardest fight to this point in the game. With Bronca dead, Carradine is sorrowful, but knows it needed to happen to see his invention finally destroyed. For our help, Carradine offers us a boon of our choosing, and we tell him of our need of a Paragon's aid in the election, to which Carradine obliges by forging a crown to go to the king of our choosing. Now, for us to keep our end of the bargain, we take the very same hammer Carradine used to create the crown, and ask him, "You want me to put the hammer down?" With the forge destroyed, Carradine feels there's no longer a reason for him to remain alive and throws himself into the lava below, leaving me as the Golem Slayer, Slayer of all Golems. Sorry, Shale. We make sure to check the stone tablet in the corner, which confirms the woman in the Shaperate is of noble lineage, and make our way back to Orzammar. We make our way to the assembly, as we have made it just in time to sway the vote, and it's actually very interesting. We can choose to go with Balin at this point, even though we have been a Haremont man through and through, and this decision does serve a large amount of importance. See, if we side with Balin, he will open Orzammart's gates and bring the Dwarven people into a better, more prosperous, and stable connection with the outside world, but he will do so as a ruthless dictator. Haremont, while being the better man, is not a better ruler, and will only continue Orzammar's isolationism and continue to restrict any hope for Orzammar to thrive once more. We find these out at the epilogue of the game that we will go into detail on with my game's epilogue, but I love that they took the time to really flesh out what would happen in this world after what we do, and this choice is not a simple good versus bad. But I stand by Haremont in this playthrough and deal with the consequences. Balin immediately attacks us with his supporters. This is a relatively large fight, but it's not too difficult, and with Balin dead, Haremont pledges to root out the corruption and evil Balin has brought forth and meet us on the field of battle to honor our treaties, completing the last of the alliances we need to officially enter the endgame in Chapter 6. In Chapter 6, we will take Quest Crack, go around the world and back many times, beat my head against the wall, break the game respectfully, beat the final boss, save the fucking world, and beat the final boss, no actually this time. With dwarves in our back pocket, we want to clean up anything we have here in Orzammar because we definitely won't ever come back here again. Ever again. We start off by turning quest to the now noble woman in the Shaperate. We turn in the lost history of the Golem volunteers to the head of the Shaperate. We head back into the Orton Tide to chase down the son of the grieving mother, who turns out to be Ruck, a very distraught young man who is clearly not doing well, having fed off the bodies of dead Darkspawn. Ruck here feels he cannot return after all he has done in the Deep Road, and asks us to relay to his mother that he passed away to preserve his memory in her eyes. We also find a pommel to a Topsider's blade in Ruck's camp, which leads us back to the Dead Trenches, where we face an ancient Darkspawn mini-boss who holds the blade of the Topsider. With these pieces, we return to Carradine's Cross, where we can defeat an emissary who will drop the hilt of the Topsider, giving us all the pieces to return to the Warrior's Grave in Orton Tide to retrieve the Topsider's Honor Blade. Quest complete. We return to Orzammar to let Ruck's mother know the bad news. Quest complete, I guess? We head back into the Royal Palace to kill an optional Revenant before heading to the Ambassador's Suite to kill an Antivan Crow target, Ambassador Gainley. We also speak with Lady Brodens, who has been poisoned, and agree to help get the ingredients to cure it. We take a breather at this point and decide to go handle the 2 quests at the Circle of Magi, and we are attacked by Darkspawn on the way. This is happening more and more often, unfortunately, as the Darkspawn continue to push their area of influence. Remember that. We reach the circle and convince Irving to let the dwarf come here to study regardless of her lack of aptitude. Once done, we head upstairs to speak to the drug dealer, mage, looking to buy a large quantity of lyrium for reasons. Small amount of weed! Small amount of weed!
I'm a family guy. He said it.
We also convinced that there's a gratuity charge for my help delivering the lyrium here. 30%, motherfucker, the Grey Wardens need a new pair of shoes. That done, we detour over to Soldier's Peak to drop off some items and clean our inventory out a bit, before heading back to Dogna to give her the good news and let Rogek know we could take care of the lyrium. This bitch had the audacity to try and lowball us on the offer of payment, and I will not take that lying down, so we take it all instead of just the 20 we were promised. Rotten hell, Rogek. Once done there, we head back to Ortentide to complete the Asunder quest involving these bags with body parts in them we found spread out the deep roads. And this fight's very cool visually, but extremely easy practically. Not much to talk about, unfortunately. We leave Orzammar with just the poison quest left to do. She'll be fine. And head for Redcliffe to get Sten's sword finally, and connect with Eamon to officially call for a landsmeet to decide the fate of Ferelden. I want to be clear, if you have left your fate into the hands of this jackass, you should already know you're screwed. We agree to travel directly to Denerim and witness this amazing cutscene where we are confronted by Loghain himself, and we get to needle him for all the hardships he has caused us. Eamon is resolute, Loghain is strong-willed, and Tim Curry is Tim Curry. It's all perfect. Loghain warns us that we will not stop him from protecting Ferelden from opposition both outside and within before he takes his leave, and we take a moment to check in with each of the companions to make sure everyone is alright. We also turn in Sten's sword at this point to complete his storyline, which is genuinely grateful for. A wonderful change of pace from the dick he's been this whole time. We meet up with Eamon, who tells us Queen Honora's handmaiden has been sent to beg us to help her get away from Loghain's control, to which I call bullshit. There's no way this is legit, but I don't get that choice now, do I? The choice I do have is to focus on clearing up more of these side quests, and there's still several to get done. We check in with the Slim Meister, who is a big hit for us. Loghain's crown. Definitely a trap, but I feel confident in my ability to bully my way through the trap. Time to burn through some side quests. I drop off some random scrolls I found in some ruins somewhere I have no idea about. Leave it to the intellectuals, I have questing to do. I hand the paper to Sister Justine, quest complete. Dopamine bar slowly fills. We then check in with Wade and drop off the Drake scales. Quest updated, no dopamine. Head to the G&T, Crow's quest complete. Dopamine. New Crow's quest, murder. We head across the bar to the room where the crown is being held. Demand entrance, are oddly enough allowed in, then not oddly enough attacked. Big mistake, I'm riding a dopamine buzz and slaughter Loghain's men. Good. We grab the crown, then go sit beside Ara Wolf before the blood is dried on our clothes. Wolfie Boy here has completely given up on life over the loss of his sons, but won't tell us anything on the subject, so we'll have to figure that out later. I head back to Slim God for my next job. Wait, they both work. Fuck. We have an old-fashioned treasure heist in our hands, and I'm in. I do a quick check-in for some snoo-snoo with Morgan, and she brings up the L word. Oh, what's that? Duncan, you're alive and need help urgently at Ostagar? Shit, Morgan, I gotta run. Such bad timing. So sorry. Obviously, I tell Morgan I love her. This is my only chance. Don't judge me. Morgan romance complete. I check in with everyone else and complete Sten's storyline, get chastised by Liliana, and agree to help Oghren get laid. We make our way over to Lake Calenhad and let him flirt his ass off. I give him fair credit for trying. Check back in at camp, and Oghren might as well have recorded a porno on the bar floor with how confident he's talking. Quest complete, moving on. Back to Denerim, Wade has completed the Drake armor and now begins working on the Dragon Scale armor. We head over and turn in a Mage's Collective quest. God, it's some good shit. We head for the Bond of West Hills estate on the Denerim map, but get confronted by some Antivan crows along the way. Zevran shows up literally out of nowhere since I never have him in my party, and he gets to make a choice. If his relationship favor isn't high enough, he will side with the crows and attack us. So you need to spend some time with him. Fight with him, talk to him often. Or you just need to give him one of the items you get free of charge with the current version of the game on Steam, and he's a ride or die, baby. Fuck the crows. This fight is oddly enough a pain in the ass, specifically because we are stuck with Severin on our team, which throws our front line out of whack, and there's a lot of spread out enemies here, so it is very easy to get overwhelmed. It takes a few tries of lining up the fireball, but we make do and complete Severin's storyline. With that out of the way, we continue on to the jewelry heist, which goes about as well as expected. We walk right into a trap and have to fight our way out, and at this point in the game, you'd think we'd just mow down foot soldiers, but these assholes really give us a fight for our money, and it's mainly the mages spamming fireballs and hexes that cause us the most trouble. God, whoever stoops so low as to spell spam, virgins. Anyway, we make it out at this point, and Slim doesn't have another quest ready for us, so I start looking around to see what quests I have left. And remember when I said I totally wouldn't ever return to Orzammar? Well, we reached the Deep Roads with Shale, because I forgot about the end of her DLC storyline being a tag here, so we have to clear that out to finish the final companion storyline. Once we run through the Deep Roads for a bit and return to camp, Shale will want to talk to us finally about Caridin and the Anvil, seeing as it does involve her. Now she wants us to search Caridin's cross for clues. We step 1 foot inside and she knows exactly where we need to go to find the Kadash Tyke, her family's. I really like the aesthetic of this location because it's the only time we see really vibrant colors of life in Orzammar. Everything else is rock, but here we actually have greens and blues and yellows. It's really cool to see nature taking back its land as we feed the soil the blood of these darkspawn shits. No fight here really stands out as difficult aside from the Alpha Shriek fight, which is consistent with our team comp. Anyone that can burst down our backline by ignoring our frontline is going to do very well, but we still make do. At the end of the tag, we have an Ogre Alpha fight with several Shrieks waiting for us, and the priority here is absolutely the Shrieks. The Ogre doesn't do very much damage at all, and we can easily burst it down once it's alone, though he does use Wolf as a stress toy for a bit, which slows things down considerably. Once done, we read a Golem monument at the base of the statue, which catalogs the volunteers who chose to become a Golem, including a Shale of House Kadash, first for name and Queen of the Anvils. With that complete, we head back to the Royal Palace to complete the last quest here in Orzammar by feeding Lady Brodens the potion we made. I found out later there was a hidden dragon boss fight here if you clicked the throne several times before selecting a new king. Really wish I'd been able to do that, but you can't once the king is selected, so big sag. We check into camp to complete Severin's and Shale's quest lines, and we are officially complete with all companions quests. At this point, we are on the home stretch for completing all quests. Now we have to hunt down some asshole named Gaxking. Should be pretty straightforward. We head over to this house and no, you fool. Gaxking cannot simply be defeated. This is rant time. Gaxking for me was the hardest fight in the entire game. He has a Lich form that spans Mana Clash and a Revenant form that destroys anything around him. I spent about 3 days, 30 different attempts, and several different team comps and styles trying to beat him and didn't even come close. I know that there is a cheese to do this fight. If you have a strong enough mage with Mana Clash, you can one-shot him. Or if your Severin build is perfect with the Tide Dagger, you can force Gaxking out of mana. I had neither of these things, so I was beating my head against a wall. I thought about changing the difficulty at this point. I wanted to complete all quests, and I genuinely felt like I had no hope of beating Gaxking. I felt bad. I felt like I was cheating the system, so I forced myself to keep pushing. I've been writing this script for about 6 months now, following my recording of this gameplay. And in that time between, a YouTuber I have watched for quite some time, Josh Strife Hayes, but more specifically, his second channel, Josh Strife Plays, both will be linked in the description. See, Josh has had a series running for about 3 years called Was It Good?, where he plays through older RPG games and gives good breakdown of the game's plot, playstyle, his run-in commentary, and gives his opinion on how the game plays for someone not looking back with rose-tinted glasses. These videos are witty, compelling, he's hot and has a great voice, so that adds watchability, and overall he appears to have a genuine love for these types of games, which makes me happy to watch. He has kept me sane through several overnight shifts and long drives, let me tell you. Josh released a Was It Good video on Dragonage Origins on November 22nd, and at first, I actually wasn't happy to see this. It felt like my opportunity to get this video out was gone now that the bigger, better YouTuber was making essentially the same video I was. That was a selfish reaction, and after having watched and enjoyed his video, I can say confidently that yes, it is a great video, and I highly recommend you watch it. But that doesn't devalue my video, because we are different people with different viewpoints, thought processes, and playstyles. Why do I bring this up? Josh received a very large amount of backlash for turning the difficulty down twice in his playthrough to make the game more manageable for a unique playstyle of all mages he was trying. I'm here to say, who gives a shit? I forced myself to beat Gaxhang on the Nightmare difficulty. Did I gain anything from it? Did the mayor of Nightmareville crown me as king of the gamers for my amazing decision? No. Play the game how you want. BioWare gave us amazing characters with not only strengths, but weaknesses, not to force you into playing one way, but to give you the choice to take the easy route or the hard route, and any route in between. If Josh wants to slay the Archdemon with God mode on while telling you about the narrative differences between Dragon Age and Chrono Trigger, then you can sit back and enjoy or shut the fuck up. Play the game how you want, and let people play the game how they want, dickhead. As long as we are all enjoying what we're doing, then we can objectively agree that these games bring everyone together. Rant over. I give up on Gaxhang for now to head back to Orzammar to do the underground proving fights, which are hilariously easy at this level. This isn't really a quest, but the option was there, so I'm doing it. I've done everything I can for now with the side quests, and decided to go see about this whole queen saving trap we all know I'm falling into. We sneak into the castle, aka we murder the guards outside the side entrance, and walk our happy asses inside before actually putting on the disguise. I'm a dumbass, I know. We sneak past the guards within the estate to head over to the room the queen is stuck in. Find out we need to deal with a mage who is holding a barrier up on the door. While on the way, we find a guard obviously getting head from a servant, and somehow I'm the bad guy here. We head down to the cells where we find Riordan, a Grey Warden from Orlais, waiting for an opportunity to break out. This is a fantastic bit of information because we finally have a veteran Grey Warden who should know more about how we can defeat the Blight without bumbling our way through the dark. Riordan tells us he saw Tim Curry go down into the dungeons, and we make our way down after him. We are unfortunately recognized immediately as not a guard, and I imagine they took one look at the dwarf guard and said, nah, and we now have to fight our way through these bastards. While clearing through, we find Arl Sighard's son and free him to gain Sighard's favor. We also find Rezel here, who is clearly not well from the PTSD and the torture, so we let him go, as well as a servant elf of Arl Irian, an Arl who died several months ago. I'm the Oprah of freeing people apparently, because you get a freedom, you get a freedom, everyone gets a freedom! With the quest here done, we finally confront Arl Curry, and as much as I respect you, old man, it's time for a new voice to sit on top. Tried and true strategy here, we take down the mage and his guards, then focus Curry down while force fielding whoever he attacks. As Hal falls, his final words of "I deserve more" are very fitting. Tim Curry always did deserve more accolades, I agree. Interestingly enough, we find Arl Irian's son Vaughn down here as well, who should be the rightful Arl of Denevrim now that Hal is dead, but Vaughn is a piece of shit, so he can rot down here for all I care. We also find a Templar down here, which means we can turn the Chantry on Loghain as well. We take his ring and agree to bring it to his sister. With the dungeons clear, we now have to fight our way back to the Queen's room, which is a slog. But we do our best, and for all this effort, we sneak her to the side gate, where we are confronted by Loghain's soldiers, and this bitch turns on us!
What a twist!
Watch Mojo Top 10 Betrayals has nothing on this. We attempt to fight our way out, but are overwhelmed and captured to be tortured for our crimes. We find Wolf and Allie in loincloths awaiting our fate, and goddamn does Allie look good here. What Morgan doesn't know won't hurt her. Now you can choose to break out of here or wait for your allies, and I kinda didn't think this through, as when Allie asks who I think will come, I choose my wife Morgan, and then I think I'll need someone to lockpick, so I choose Liliana, single-handedly choosing my personal 2 weakest and easiest to kill members to stage my breakout. Fuck me. Morgan and Liliana show up as members of the Chantry, here to pray over those sentenced to death, and they see bows and staffs and think, it is a rough side of town, and somehow this works. They even believe a Morgan-led prayer, which had me howling in disbelief. I do agree with one of the guards, who doesn't fully believe it, but doesn't want to deal with the Chantry's bullshit either. Hear, hear, brother. We sneak past the first set of guards, then begin picking off the smaller pairs, but this is definitely no simple task. Liliana does very minimal damage, and Morgan is squishy, so we really need to quickly isolate opponents using Cone of Cold, and burst down these soldiers as fast as possible. It is a very unenjoyable prison break, but we make do and free Allie and Wolf within about 10 minutes. With our team comp much more stable, we clear out the rest of the prison and return to Eamon's estate to regroup. And guess who's here when I arrive? I should slice your throat right now, bitch. Honora tries and fails to convince us she had to feign ignorance to keep up airs with her father and is willing to work with us, only if we agree to keep her on the throne. Even Eamon critiques how much of a manipulative bitch she is, but honestly, a manipulative current queen might be a strong queen, so I am considering it. We take these thoughts straight over to Honora, who agrees. She thinks Allie is a strong soldier, but weak as a leader, and wants us to support her instead of him. We reasonably reply that after her last stunt, I would rather support her via a sword in her back, which really gets us nowhere, so instead I offer to have Allie as her king and let her continue to run things at his hip. She's game, I'm game, now to get Allie on game. Surprisingly, Allie talks a big game but doesn't push back at all when I recommend the marriage. Allie, you dirty dog, you've been checking out Honora, haven't you? Get it, king, get it. I also love Eamon's shock to this. You didn't magic them, did you? Nah, man, I'm just the love maker. Give me some credit. But before we are ready to actually put this plan in place, we need to start gaining favor among the nobles, and fucking fast. We head over to the GNT and talk to Sigard, the man whose son we saved in the dungeons, not only pledges support to us, but also states he will be having dinner with a Bon Reginalda tonight, and will speak of our actions with her as well. So +1, possibly +2 for us, and we're starting off hot. We also find the sister of the tortured Templar here and hand over his ring. No points here. I don't think she'll be at the Lands meet, but that's a dopamine hit, baby! Woo! God, I've been itching for one of those for a while. Running out of those to get, unfortunately, so we make our way to the Elven Alienage. Ah yes, I love Attack on Titan. The elves that we met outside the Brazilian forest are a free, nomadic group of people traveling the world. The elves we find here are not. They are hated, treated as lesser beings, ridiculed and enslaved. And now we are receiving word that elves are going missing in the alienage, and we are going in to find out what the fuck is going on. You'll also probably notice I'm using the highlight item button we talked about earlier. It did in fact take me this long. Judge away in the comments. What we find here is a truly dire situation. There is an apparent plague ravaging through the alienage, and soldiers and mages are here to move those affected into a quarantine zone to receive a spell to cure them, but several of the affected have not returned. We also learn that these soldiers are not Logain's men, but are soldiers from a different country, which is setting off huge red flags for me. While exploring around, we run into a blind Templar who reminds me of Churit Imwe, and he senses a great evil nearby and requests our help investigating it. Once done talking to him, we approach the foreign soldiers who do not want our help and will not let us in, then attack us for our good intentions. We then murder them for their bad intentions and make our way around the back. We progress through the building, killing any soldiers we run into, before reaching a backyard area where a soldier brings up a shipment he wasn't expecting, confirming our suspicion that they are not just curing the sick. We kill off these guards and continue forward quickly to see if we can save any surviving elves. We make it inside, where we are found at knife point by a large collection of soldiers and an elf. The elf expresses her displeasure at the trouble we've caused and explains they were allowed here by higher-ups in the city. Corruption, methinks. This breaks out into a terrible battle for us. This is a collection of the worst scenarios for our team comp with 2 wide open rooms, lots of mage soldiers to hit us up front and personal, and several archers spread out to pepper us down. The first thing we need to do in this fight is spread everyone out. Get Ali in the center to draw attention and force field him. This is easier said than done, as we need to keep Wolf alive long enough for that to happen and not stunned so that he can force field when Ali is low. Once step 1 is complete, we can fireball the horde around Ali and begin mowing them down with Cone of Cold and shattering the most healthy of them. I can't just kill any willy-nilly, I need to be precise to limit the amount of damage they can do while my spells are down. We kill several, but Ali dies, forcing me to spend a Revivify on him, then Wolf goes down shortly after. Liliana and the elf are for some reason treating their bows like shotguns, so I pull her out of there to focus on the soldiers, and she goes right fucking back! I swear if she didn't make a great lockpick, I would be so done with her. With the melee soldiers down, we focus on the elf while Wynn tries to deal with the archers. We lose Liliana and Ali soon after, but Wynn cleans up using this funny strat to gather mana before reviving Wolf to kill off the last archer. The next several rooms and hallways are much easier as we can fireball most of them down before they do any real damage. Reaching the final room, we meet a cocky little shithead named Caladius, as if a dead man's name matters. 9 on 4. Those odds are a little too steep, Caladius. You're 3 men short. We fireball the core group, then deal with the 2 soldiers on their stairs, while the rest are picking themselves off the ground. We send another fireball their way, before progressing to the ground to begin taking out the small fry. Once Ali has a good amount on him, we force field and begin Cone of Cold shattering the archers down. Claudius, for all his confidence, really isn't doing anything in this fight, and the numbers drop from 9 to 1 quickly enough. Claudius is tanky, sure, but he never stood a chance against us. Once his health is low, he surrenders and tries to bargain with his life, but his life was already mine the moment I stepped foot in this shithole. No survivors. Oh wait, not you elves, you're cool. Once the elves are freed, we return back to the center of the alienage, notice a dead Mabari and a blood spot right outside the orphanage. The Blind Templar seems to think these are odd, but I just see it as a normal orphanage, but I guess I can play along. We enter the haunted orphanage, fuck yeah, where we hear a haunting little kid's voice, fuck yeah, and my guy is walking around like he has to shit, fuck yeah. This is honestly one of my favorite quests in the game because of the care that was given to it, even though it is completely optional and easy to miss. We progress through the orphanage, fighting off spirits while the little kid tries to scare us off, and the blind guy just keeps saying we're getting closer like a spectro metal detector, until we reach a room covered in blood. Within, Blindy states we're here, and we suddenly get a fiery POV of the demon telling us to run away or the boogeyman will get us, not realizing I'm here to kill the boogeyman. Sir Otto, I finally looked up his name and felt bad calling him Blindy, is already low health at this point, so I try to prioritize keeping him alive while we deal damage to the demon, and then the shades it spawns after. Which isn't too hard all said and done. Fight done, Otto says we're not done and we need to continue to the next building, though I do spend a moment healing him a little before we go. More shades and spirits that aren't really posing a challenge for us at this point in our game later, and we are heading down a long hallway, still hearing the haunting child who sounds very afraid and begs us to leave them alone, only for several rage abominations to spawn. Significantly stronger than shades, it's actually important we take care to keep them off of Otto, but beating them does net our character level 20. Entering the room at the end of the hallway gets us another awesome demon POV shot as we get a scene reminiscent of an exorcism. As Otto prays to the Maker, the demon touts that your Maker has no power here, and I argue that I'm the real one with the power as we drop the demon like a sack of potatoes. Demon done, we get to have our final cutscene with Otto. Holy shit! I genuinely didn't see that coming, and that was fucking awesome. We avenge Otto by actually killing the demon this time. Quest complete, but at the loss of a good man, and no amount of dopamine fixes that. It's time I went sober. It's time we start completing the final side quests of the playthrough, and we start by heading to Redcliffe to tell a widow her husband is dead, as well as find a place of magical power. I also pick up the last Blackstone quest, asking us to kill the leader of the Blackstone Irregulars, but there's a problem with that quest. See, you will be stopped on your journey by the Blackstone Irregulars to see if you killed the leader. If you talk to the new leader in the stop, you bug out the quest, and never spawn in the old leader to kill him. Guess who talked to the new leader? That's quest number 3 I will not be able to complete in our playthrough. God damn it. Whatever. We head to the werewolf lair to kill another revenant hidden in a vial, as well as pick up a love letter hidden in a chest I left behind because I didn't have Liliana with me. This means I have one love letter missing to turn in, and I searched everywhere for this thing. I looked up a video and retraced every single love letter, and would you like to know which one it was? You'll see in just a bit. For now, we leave the ruins for the forest entrance where we need to shoot a bow signal. But you can't just use a teammate with the bow. No, your character needs to be able to wield a bow to do this quest, so I actually had to take the time to spec my character a little bit to actually wield a bow. Fucking pointless quest. I murder everyone afterwards. Fuck this quest. With these quests done, we return to the GNT in Denram to pick up the last 2 favors quests that see us going all over the map again. We head for Lake Calenhad to kill Skinny Frank, fitting name, then into the Circle of Magi for the 6th and final Revenant for the Evil Vials. We do an interesting touch the item puzzle in the circle as well that summons Sash Weird, a tanky firewood demon for us to mow down. Leaving the circle, we get stopped by a merchant selling fake religious texts that decides he will kill us to keep us quiet. Bad move. Then we head to the exterior of Orzammar to kill Brian, fuck you Brian, and drop off the payment at the dead drop spot. We drop off the other in Denram before dropping the last off in Redcliffe, which fucking blows up in our face, literally. What assholes! While here, I check the inside of the windmill, where the hidden path to the castle is, as well as my last love letter. How did I miss this? We head back to Denram and head into the Wonders of the Das to deal with the last guy for the favors, and he had quite a few extra guards that made no difference at all. Way to go, Chief. We turn these 2 quests in and get an extra last quest telling us we need to kill one of the other people who's been having us do quests. I agree, if only to stop having to do these fucking quests, and head for Kay's hideout. We kill his lieutenants, men outside easily enough, and head inside to deal with the man himself. Kay is beefy, his men are not. So we bring it down to just him and then let the gangbang commence. Kay down, quest complete. We have, if my math is right, 2 side quests left, though only one is available right now, and it's fucking Gax King. So I decide to proceed with the Land's Meat finally. With everything ready, we head for the doors to the assembly, but are stopped by Loghain's other second in command behind Tim Curry, Cothrian. And believe me, this bitch can fight, so I try to talk her out of it, to see reason. No matter what I say about the horrific things Loghain has done, Cothrian is willing to overlook it or outright blame us for forcing him into them, leaving us with no choice but to fight Cothrian to the death. Cothrian has 6 guards with her in this fight, 4 archers and 2 melee, so our priority has to be to clear out those archers early, finish off the melees, and put Cothrian on a pike. This is much easier said than done, as the archers are spaced out evenly on either side, and Cothrian does a lot of damage. I move Ali into the center of the room to take everyone's attention and force field once he starts taking damage. I use this distraction to get a fireball off that hits all of the guards, then push forward with Wolf to pick off the archers, while Oghren continues hitting the melees. I get 2 archers down and throw another fireball on top of Ali, but he is not force-fielded this time and goes down. I manage to kill an archer with Wolf as Wynn throws a heal onto Ali right as he gets knocked low. Then manage to get an auto attack off on Wynn to kill the melee in her face, who knocks her down to less than 10% HP. We lose Oghren, but kill off the remaining 2 guards, making this a 1v2 with Wynn and Wolf against Cothrian, and we are both low mana. I managed to get a last minute force field onto Wynn, which buys me vital time to throw all my spells on the Cothrian and heal Wolf up while using blood magic to regain mana. We have Cothrian low, but I need one more force field onto Wynn to give me the time to finish off the last for HP. With Cothrian dead, Ferelden loses a very formidable warrior. But we did all we could, and we need to get through those doors. We enter the Landsmeet to a fierce opening from Eamon, and this is cinema in video game form. God, I don't care how bad Loghain is. His voice actor is so good! Listen to this!
A fine performance, Eamon. but no one here is taken in by it. You would attempt to put a puppet on the throne, and every soul here knows it. The better question is who will pull the strings. Ah! Here we have the puppeteer.
Loghain believes that we are traitors, outsiders who led Caelan to ruin. We argue the threat is the Blight, not Orlays. Loghain claims we do not need Grey Wardens, and bringing their help will only allow foreigners to take our land. We argue that he is already selling elves out of the alienage to foreign powers to fund the war. Loghain claims everything he did to protect the country. We argue how did attempting to poison Ireneeeeee help protect the country? Loghain ignores this and claims we kidnapped his daughter, Queen Anora. But it's Anora who comes out and speaks against this, defending us and accusing Loghain of changing as a man, becoming a tyrant. Loghain states that no matter what, we must be united now if we are ever to defeat this blight, and calls for a vote. On a count of 5-1, we win the vote. But Loghain is not having it. He declares that none of us should have any say on the decisions of Ferelden because none of us have given our life for Ferelden as he has. And I could argue, but I'd much rather fight. I challenge Loghain to an honorable fight to the death. A 1v1 battle of wits and strength. I love that Loghain quotes Merrick here. A man is made by the quality of his enemies. Fitting. Now tell me, Loghain, what quality of an enemy am I? We circle each other. Loghain draws his sword. The fight is about to commence, and it shall be legendary! Wait, what are we doing? I'm a mage! Get spell spammed, you fucking nerd. Shit, I'm out of spells. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. Time to train the Regent and Lord of the country's armies. This is the best we have to offer? It's all over. You fool! You buffoon! You Wait. No. Fuck! Alright, it's fine. We revert the save, and that was just a fluke. We bully him down this time without messing about, and Loghain finally admits he underestimated us, and finally yields. And we now have a pivotal decision. We can accept Loghain's surrender, and let him join the Grey Wardens to atone for his sins. But Ali will not accept this answer and will leave. I will not abandon Ali like that, and decide to give Loghain the warrior's death he deserves, splattering his blood across Queen Anora. You two will make such a nice couple, Ali. Getting to that as well, Eamon asks us who will be crowned, and I continue as planned, saying that Ali and Anora will rule together as king and queen. Ali is not the best speaker, apparently, but Anora picks up where he stumbles, and they make a fine enough speech to prepare for war. With that out of the way, we have 2 side quests remaining. We head over to Slim to get the final Crime Wave mission, which involves the Tears of Andraste, a holy relic said to be the literal tears of the Prophet. We head for Bon Frendreral's estate, where we use Liliana's stealth to skip past all of the fighting, and everything is going well until I try to pickpocket the mercenary captain and accidentally attack him. Whoops. I decided to just let Liliana die, thinking I can leave and reset, and no, you can't do that. So I now need to kill all of the guards we snuck past, down a teammate. We get it done relatively smoothly, but I'm still annoyed with myself for it happening. Tears of Andraste recovered, we head back to Slim, who asks us to trust him with the tears, and we agree begrudgingly before moving on. With 1 side quest remaining, I decide I need to really step up my gear to deal with Gaxkang. So I decide it's time to cheese. See, there is a way to make infinite money in this game. If you buy the recipe for the potent lyrium potion from the vendor at the Wonders of the Das, you can buy the ingredients needed from the vendor at the Circle of Magi, create the potions, then sell them to the bartender at G&T, and this sale is cash positive. After 52 potions are sold, we will have officially made up for the money we used to pay for the original recipe, and everything after is profit. There is no limit to the number of any of these ingredients you can buy. or how many you can sell, and you can sell them at 0 downside. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, well, wait, Wolf, if you're going back and forth between the Circle and Denerim, isn't there an inherent risk of being attacked? To which I would reply, no! See, if you travel enough times, you will eventually run out of attacks to receive, and will only occasionally receive the one trader with a horse encounter and never be attacked again, trivializing this whole experience. So you were watching me fast forward through this process until I made a profit to prove that I could do it. And it's fucking tedious, but I did it. Now that I've shown you that I can have infinite money, I'm just going to use a much easier exploit for said infinite money. The port to PC is actually really buggy and bad for key mapping, which led to this hilarious interaction where you can hover over an item you want to sell to a shop, left click and hold said item, then right click and hold said item, then dragging it over to the merchant side of the screen, causing the item to sell twice. The reason this works is that left clicking is meant to sell the items, while right clicking is meant to sell the stack. But left clicking and dragging also sells the stack, leading to the stack being sold twice. This means we can double sell a unit, then buy it back for the cost of one sale, rinse and repeat, and we will duplicate our money by the cost of the item with every sale. This takes seconds. If you have paid attention throughout the game, I have struggled with money and health and lyrium potions, but that ends here. I intentionally chose to wait until the end game to ensure I didn't make the game too easy, and I feel it's only fair I get to be a little OP during the end of the game. If you don't agree, you can fight me in the comments. I go to all of the available merchants in the game to make sure I have every named item as well as a full stack of each of the strongest potions for injuries, health, and lyrium before beginning to build a team comp to finally deal with Gax King. I take our tried and true team of Ali, Wolf, Wynn, and Liliana, and with the help of the strongest mage staff and armor in the game, my mana clash may not kill Gax King, but it is strong enough to push him to his Revenant form, which is much easier to deal with. Now, the priority becomes keeping the pressure on him while we wait for Mana Clash to come off cooldown. I make a pretty crucial mistake here by force fielding Wolf instead of Ali after taunting, leading to several long seconds of waiting while Gaxcame switches between his two forms due to his lifesteal. The second Mana Clash brings Gaxcame below half health, so 2 more should be enough to do the job as long as I can keep everyone alive. Wynn and Liliana are getting chunked down from his Lynch form spells, and we do actually lose Liliana, but Wynn stays alive with a slither of health, which is all we need to keep Ali and Wolf alive. I make the decision to not revive Liliana to hold onto the spell in case we lose Ali or Wolf, who are pivotal to our strategy. Time for the third Mana Clash, and this one doesn't do all that much, and I'm starting to get worried this fight might not go in our favor. I force field Wynn this time as she is drawing aggro, but this actually doesn't work in my favor as I chose not to buy infinite health and mana potions for this fight, and I'm currently out. We manage to scrape by while we wait for Wynn to be able to heal again, and the fourth Mana Clash brings Gaxcane to 25% health. We're so close, but everyone is low, and Wolf finally goes down. I've held on to that revival this entire time, but I only have enough mana for revival at this point while Ali is low. I take the risk and bring Wolf back into the fray, hoping he will have enough time to get his mana back through blood magic and use one more Mana Clash. Wolf stands up right as Ali falls, and with no mana, still this feels over. I make a decision. We won't have time for Mana Clash, so I force field Wolf, buying time for Wynn to build up a little mana and heal Wolf back to full. This was also just enough time for Wolf to get the mana needed for Mana Clash. The fifth Mana Clash hits, and a final Stonefist takes Gaxcang out. We are done. That is all side quests complete, aside from the 2 we already made a note of that you can see, and the 1 I cannot get. Now, there's only one thing left to do. Save the fucking world. I take some time to build up all of our team as best as I can, and I end up with the following. Wolfmus wears the Kalen's armor set with the Staff of the Magister Lord. Ali wears the Warden Commander armor set and the Helm of Honleaf with Starfang and Kalen's shield. Wynn wears the Long Runner's cap, Wade's superior drakeskin armor with the Winter's Breath Staff. Liliana wears the Longsight cap and the Wade's drakeskin armor set with Marjolaine's bow. Oghren wears the Blood Dragon armor set with Douthodon. Morgan wears the Libertarian's cowl, the Silver Hand gauntlets, the Reaper's vestment, and the Silver Hammer's evaders with the Winter's Breath Staff. I have no clue why there are two different Winter's Breath Staffs, by the way. Weird. Zevran wears the Conspirator's foil, Devinter Mage robe, the Angled Strikers, and the Bard's Dancing Boots with the Dead Tig Shanker and the Rose's Thorn. And finally, Sten wears the Legion armor set with the Summer Sword. With our weapons and armor set, I sell all the remaining gear to Bodan. That way if I fall, I know the armor will stand a chance at living to tell the tale. I'm just really sick of my inventory being full. And then I make sure all enchantable weapons have been enchanted. Thank you, the maker. With all the prep work done, we make our way to Redcliffe to make our defense against the south. And we don't arrive a moment too soon as Redcliffe is already being attacked. We fight our way up to the castle where Riordan, Honora, and Eamon are already inside, where we receive the bad news. The Archdemon has used our link to determine where we will be and has diverted their attack towards Denerim, and we might not make it in time. There's also the secondary problem that Riordan is now telling us. We need a Grey Warden to kill the Archdemon, and it will come at the cost of the Grey Warden's life. Riordan is prepared to make that sacrifice, but tells us this because we might not be in a position to let Riordan do it. We need to enter this battle accepting that we might need to die to win, and I am ready to give my life for this. Though Morgan offers another way. Morgan has found, through researching Flemeth's grimoire, that she can take in the Archdemon's spirit and live based on a single variable. Morgan must be carrying the child of a Grey Warden within her, which will let her force the spirit into the child in such a way that both her and the child may live. How, you might ask? Space magic. Don't look too close or you might die. I'm personally not going to question this opportunity to get laid before we all die. Come here, my Queen of the Wilds. We have a baby to make. Morgan somehow confirms we absolutely made a baby, because that's how that works, and we go to sleep one last time before making the journey to Denerim. We have this cutscene here of a touching moment showing soldiers leaving families to make what might be the last trip to Denerim they ever make. Men, women, elves, and dwarves steeling themselves for the fight that might end their lives, as well as the lives of all living souls. If we cannot win here, all hope is lost. But with Allie and I in charge, what could possibly go wrong? Allie gives a rallying speech, fluffing our cock as big as it can get for all of the army to gaze upon. For Ferelden's, for the Grey Wardens, for my sanity! Another fantastic fight cutscene that really pulls off the Lord of the Rings vibe in a way only a handful of different games and movies have really done. Denerim is already under siege when we arrive, and we fight our way through the city gates amidst fire and carnage. Our goal is to clear out the ground troops near the city gate to create a foothold for the army, and this is a really awesome moment where we only control Wolf, and all of our comrades are running around murdering anything they can, just like I taught them. Once the front gate is clear, we can finally pick our final team, and there isn't even a question of who I will take with me through hell and back. Allie's been by my side from the beginning, and will be by my side until the end. Wynn is the greatest holy mage this land has ever seen, and no wound is too deep when she's around. And the final choice of Liliana or Oghren was made by the sheer fact that we don't need Lockspick this time. We need a drunken war criminal, and I only know one dwarf like that. We have a wonderful touching moment with every comrade who either thanks me for taking them, or wishes they could be there with me even until the end. We really made some great friends along the way. I will say, my only regret is not taking Morgan with me because of the heartfelt voice acting of Claudia Black, but I can't feel any doubts now. We have a job to do. We run forward through the crowd of soldiers cheering us on, who only weeks ago would be calling for our heads. Ferelden truly is united in this moment. The team? Assembled. The game plan? Simple. The hotel? Travago. Riordan is heading for the highest point in the sitting to try and draw in the Archdemon, while we need to head to the 2 beacons that are leading to the Darkspawn. We head first for the alienage, and we see up on the right hand side of our HUD, we have a set of 5 available troops of different soldiers based on the alliances we created to call upon in our fights. This can be useful in a pinch, but their value will diminish the more we use them, so I will try to hold off and deal with the Darkspawn while I can, and try is a key word here because they aren't fucking around with the small batches of 4 or 6 Hurlocks anymore. This is a fucking horde, and we have tens of Darkspawn heading our way. The basic grunts die in 1 hit, so dealing with them quickly to trim the numbers is important. Next in line of priority are the emissaries, who deal fuck tons of damage. Then the ogres. We clear out the first set of waves in the alienage, and push across the bridge into Deneron's market district, only to be immediately attacked by the Archdemon who cuts off our escape, as if we'd ever need one. The market district holds multiple ogres instead of waves of grunts, which in my opinion is actually easier as long as we manage to not aggro 3 of them at once and an emissary. Fuck. It's fine, it's fine. Emissary's gotta go first, to stop him from peppering us down, and the ogres will surely fall after. We continue this method of clearing out the market district as we move forward from the alienage, past the GNT, through the markets, and over to the Chantry. Things get a little dicey around here where Slim normally is, and we lose Win, which cripples our sustainability. But we make do with the vast stores of healing potions we have at this point. With the area clear, our POV changes to that of the B team, led by our main squeeze Morrigan defending the gate we came through, and honestly, this fight's a piece of cake. We have Morrigan set up a blizzard and an inferno on the opening gate and quickly kill off anything that lives through that hellhole. One more blizzard and a few auto attacks seals the deal, and we are back to the A team progressing through the city. But before that, we have a cutscene showing Riordan taking a leap of faith, both literally and metaphorically, as he dives onto the flying Archdemon, managing to crucially damage its wing. Unfortunately, Riordan does fall from the Archdemon at this process, and much like my credit score, he won't be surviving that fall. His death is not in vain though, as the damage to the Archdemon's wing is enough to force it to land at the top of the palace, giving us a clear path forward. We find the A-team at this point clearing through the palace district, and as we progress up the steps to the palace itself, we are definitely at the pinnacle of my stupid build's power at this point. So I'm confident there isn't anything that can wipe us out. But that doesn't mean I won't use free insurance when I have it. It is for this reason that when we reach the entrance of Fort Drakon, with this treasure I summon Maharaga, or Redcliffe soldiers, to help deal with the stupid dragon thralls. We lose about 18 in the progress, but their sacrifice will not be forgotten as we enter the fort to end this blight once and for all. We encounter several shades progressing through the fort, but shades are not that big of a problem at this point, and we clear them out quickly enough to focus on the Genlock Conjurer waiting in the doorway patiently for his death. We near the stairs of the 2nd floor when we find God himself, Sandal, surrounded by more bodies than I littered outside, again proving my point that he is the Maker, and he allows us to buy some goods and possibly enchant before we move forward. Your benevolence is greatly appreciated, my lord. There is nothing at this point that can stand in our way. We rush through the 2nd floor to reach the top of the fort and get a great cutscene of this stupid rat with extra teeth murdering my soldiers in my city, and I won't stand for it. I've had 2 easy dragon fights this playthrough, you motherfucker. Let's make it a clean sweep. We push Ali and Oghren to the front legs of the beast and move Wolf and Win out of range to pummeling the monster with spells. The Archdemon is much more agile than either of the 2 previous dragons, and knocks Ali and Oghren aside before jumping away to restart the fighting. This movement doesn't just knock our tanks out of position, but causes our mages to reposition as well, slowing down the amount of damage we can do. We're steadily lowering its health though, and reach about 90% when we call in our short-statured brethren, the dwarves, into the fray. Good luck knocking aside these boulders, asshole! We also use this moment to feed everyone some health potions to ensure we don't randomly die here. I intend to one-shot this bitch. Around 80% health, the Archdemon repositions again, which gives us ample time to get our dwarves into position on the front lines, only for the Archdemon to blow them all away with a wing blast. We lose about 9 dwarves while bringing the Archdemon to 50%, which is when the Archdemon pulls a dirty move. This bitch moved to a platform we can't get to easily, but I'm not letting it get away like that. We move to reposition to the ballista close by and fire on the Archdemon. This is by far and away the stupidest mechanic they could ever leave in the game. This ballista did more damage in one shot than we did in several rotations of spells, and it stun locks the Archdemon. You might confuse this for easy mode, where I'm throwing Zeus's very own lightning bolts, but this is fucking nightmare, and we just chunk the Archdemon down to 25% health in seconds with 0 risk. The Archdemon realizes its mistake far too late and jumps back to the center to summon several shrieks to its aid, but there is nothing that can be done to stop me at this point. I am inevitable, and I will have my revenge for all the people you hurt, Archdemon. For Duncan. For Kaelin. For Riordan. For my goddamn sanity. It's time to end it here and now, Archdemon. As its health reaches 0, we get a cinematic view of Allie showboating the kill, only for a cutscene to play showing Wolf rush forward, collecting the sword of a fallen comrade, and sliding in for the decisive blow to the head of the Archdemon, only to follow it with a final thrust into the skull. A beam of light raises towards the heavens, enveloping the wound and my sword, leading to an explosion that splits the night sky. The resulting blast causes the Darkspawn to begin to flee, as the soldiers recognize the tides have turned. With its final breath, I complete my title of Demon Slayer, Dragon Slayer, Golem Slayer, and finally the Archdemon Slayer, Slayer of all Archdemons. We have won out the night, and the war is officially ending. The following cutscene explains that the Blight was crushed by the death of the Archdemon, and the Horde was torn apart, leading to the remaining Darkspawn returning underground to be hunted over the upcoming years. It is here that we begin to see the consequences of our actions, which I greatly appreciate from BioWare. Allie and Honora are wed and crowned king and queen. We are crowned the hero of Ferelden, and a monument to honor the Grey Wardens is to be built here in Denerim. We are also given the lands previously owned by Arl Howe to rebuild the Grey Wardens, but this is not a task for me to complete. I have another mission. Morgan, who also allowed us to live by carrying our child, has disappeared after the battle and wished not to be found. But when did I ever take orders from her? I will track down my goth mommy and my potential child, even if it costs me my life. We begin our goodbyes speaking with Allie, our closest friend and one true shield. I will miss you, old friend. Shale tells us she intends to seek out the Tevinter with Wynne to see if they can revert her back into a human. Irving. Remember Irving from the Circle? Yeah, he's here. He seems to think we're much closer than we are, but I'll let him have his moment, I suppose. Eamon gives me a more genuine, proper thank you, and though it didn't come with a monetary reward, so it's not perfect, but I'll allow it this once. Liliana enjoys the conclusion of my play from her eyes, though I'm happy to remind her that she is a very capable co-star, and I was grateful to take the stage with her. Liliana intends to return to Orlais to right the wrongs she did in her past, and I look forward to our next play. Zevran is the same playful twink he always is, and is game to come with us on our adventure, and I'm always happy to keep an assassin at my side instead of at my back. Wynne is understandably somber. She knows as well as I that more time is no longer a guaranteed thing, and she intends to help Shale reach the Tevinter to see if Shale, as well as Wynne herself, can be healed. If not, she intends to enjoy her last bit of time on this planet exploring. Sten, who notably did literally nothing in this playthrough, has been named a living example for all Kunari, very similar to the Paragons for the dwarves, and I won't rain on that parade today. Sten is all in all a good man and wishes us well in our endeavors. and I do the same. Oghren is happy to be drunk, not shocking, on non-dwarven wine, shocking, and who am I to judge a man by his vices? Oghren's plans from here? That dog is heading straight back for Felsey at Lake Calenhad. You knew that just as well as I did. With our goodbyes said, we have nothing left to do but head out these doors to a new adventure, to a new game in the future. The end of the game shows a series of end cards that give us information regarding what happens to Ferelden after we leave due to our decisions throughout the game. With Allie being hardened, Anora is not left to handle things on her own, and the two become a surprisingly good duo at court. They rule for years to come and are so effective that people genuinely believe the Lands Meets Chaos was worth it to reach this outcome. Wild. Brother Genitivi being allowed to speak on the sacred urn of Andraste's ashes leads to the information not being bottled up by the Chantry, and news spreads all throughout Thedas, allowing for pilgrimages to begin again. The Circle was deemed safe after several months, and things returned to normal. For better or worse, nothing changed among the Magic Society, and their gilded cage is very much still intact. Allie's first-hand experience with the mistreatment of the elves leads to the reform in the Alienage, and the Elder being placed on Allie's royal court. A very radical move, but a great step in the right direction. Eamon remained in Denerim to advise Allie, while Tegan took over ruling at Redcliffe, and this worked so well Eamon eventually gave the role over permanently. The Dalish elves garnered much respect for helping in the battle, and under the leadership of Linnea, the Dalish clans returned more permanently to Ferelden near Ostagar, though not without issues with the resident humans. King Haramont of the Dwarves struggled to fully rid of the courts of Balin's rebellion, which hampered his ability to gain stability in the court. This led to only more strict isolationist measures being approved in the assembly, most definitely hindering Orzamar's potential to grow from this event. Haramont would never find the stability he aimed for before passing away. Whether it was for poison or stress, we'll never know, but his death left the door open for a new power struggle to begin. I appreciate that we also get a note here about the scholar that went to the Circle, Dagna, actually completing her studies and writing a thesis on how lyrium vapors relates to the supply of magic. This interestingly led to a growing movement of mages wanting to build a new circle in Orzammar to see how the lyrium proximity would affect the magic, though more realistically as a means to get away from the Chantry. This would inevitably lead to research into Caridin's work reopening, and a new golem would eventually be created, only for it to kill several Shapers before being sealed away again. Morgan kept her word regarding disappearing with her child after the Archdemon was killed, much to my dismay, though she was spotted several months later heading through the Frostback Mountains above Orzammar, and a child may have been spotted with her. With her left several mysteries regarding her mother, her child, herself, and the magic surrounding them, but I intend to solve those mysteries myself one day. With the Blight defeated, our team eventually scattered to the four corners of the world, each drawn to their own personal responsibilities, but this would not separate them forever. Although the Horde was slowed by killing the Archdemon, and the Blight was stopped for now, many of the more powerful Darkspawn survived to organize roving warbands that preyed both upon the land and each other. These warbands wreaked havoc not only here, but west into Orlais and even across the shining sea by the deep roads. But this is a story for another time, for this tale ended when I sank my blade into the Archdemon's head and destroyed it forever. And while this may not be the last we hear of my character's tales in Ferelden, it is the last for now. I want to take a moment to thank you all so much for watching my playthrough of Dragonage Origins. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. This script alone was over 40,000 words and took me well over 6 months to finish. I want to offer my sincerest thank you to my brother Lionhearts for editing this video, my girlfriend Irene for keeping me sane, and my friends Furley and Beck for being there for me when I needed a kick in the ass. I have made it my goal this year to put out at least one more video after this, and since I already have Persona 5 Royal recorded, I will be working on that video next. Thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and if you made it this long, comment for my sanity down below. Have a good day, and I will see you all next time.